Wednesday was great.
Okay, I call this work session to order. Wednesday, May 15th, open for visitor comments.
Good afternoon, Patrick Traffic from the Port of Columbia County. A couple items, get the dates taken care of first. We have our Airport Advisory Board meeting set for 20th of May, and our next Port Commission is next week on Wednesday, the 22nd of May. And we have two advisory boards, in case you're unaware of, actually three, I guess. Our Budget Board, which is made up of 5 citizens. The Airport Advisory Board, which is predominantly focused on the Scappoose Airport, and the Marina Advisory Board, which is for the Scappoose Bay Marina. And both those last two have been going on for close to 20, 25 years, providing input to the commission on things that have been going on down there. We had, at our last commission meeting, we had three basic areas that we took care of. One was we did approve the rates for the marina. The standard boards rates went up 3% by CPI, and the actual fees, which won't go into effect till 1 January, which are the parking fees, the launch fees, those type of things. They were also increased for the annual passes, but the day passes remain the same at $3 to park per day and $5 to launch per day. And likewise, the seniors and the veterans, current veterans process did not increase for the annual pass, which is roughly about $50 or $51 for the launch, and about 25, 26 for the parking pass. Now, the current veterans pass only includes active duty and retirees. So the commission is taking up, we're supposed to hear separately, whether it be next week or not. We don't have our agenda out, I can't speak to that. But regarding whether that veterans pass will expand to include all just past veterans. So staff's currently working to see what the financial impact and the workload impact will be before bringing that to us. The other two things that we talked about was Devon Air, which is an air charter service, which is going to Scappoose Airport. We were given the lease to look at, review for 10 days to determine whether we move forward with building that hangar office space combination, which will be about a $3.2 million building out there. It'll be to start with 15 or 16 employees, and then we'll determine whether they expand from there. And they're currently relocated from Hillsborough Airport. The second one was we received a request from Northwest Innovation Works.
Patrick, we're going to come turn on your microphone, apparently. We can hear you, but everybody else can't. And I apologize for that.
I assume you don't want me to start over.
No. Well, you can go ahead and do a recap on your advisory committees, though.
Sure. Again, we have three basic advisory committees. Our budget, which I know you have too, of the Marina Advisory Board and the Airport Advisory Board. Both have been going on for decades and provide input and information to the commission on a variety of topics that affect public access issues associated with those two locations.
And you were talking about an airplane hangar with the
airplane. So Devon Air, we received a lease that the port is reviewing on Devon Air, which is an air charter service, which is looking to relocate from Hillsborough to Scappoose Airport, roughly looking to build a combination hangar office, about $3.2 million, about 35,000 square feet, right around there. And they'll have 15 or so employees, and we'll determine whether that'll increase in the long term. The other one is the Northwest Innovation Works, which came to the commission and asked to be released from their current leasehold property-wise and to be considered for a 100-acre parcel yet to be determined in the area we requested to rezone, should that rezoning be approved. So it was given to us for review. The commission will look at that more than likely next week again, and whether we make a decision or not will depend whether there's additional questions for the staff. And I think I already mentioned the rates issues.
Mm-hmm.
That stays the same. And the dates for the advisory board, the next advisory board, which is The airport will be Monday the 20th, and our next port meeting will be the 22nd. So barring any questions, that's my report for the day.
What's the what kind of aircraft does that facilitate? And is that jet aircraft by chance?
I don't believe it is, but if it is, it's going to be a small corporate jet. But I know they have a number of turboprops, but it's anything from parts to people to organs is what they predominantly move around. But I can get to you the exact
No,
type of
no,
aircraft.
I was just curious.
Yeah. But-
Flight path. How
Sure.
close is it going to be to my bedroom?
Oh, I'll still get you the information on that, but I just don't know on top of my head. So, any other questions?
So then on Scappoose Bay, you guys raised the annual rate, but not the regular launch fee rate.
Yeah, the general, the mortgage
Mhm.
and the fees
Yes.
predominantly raised by CPI, with the exception of the daily rates,
Yep.
which are $3 to park and $5 to launch. And on top of that, the other exception was senior citizens and the current veteran policy, which is for the annual rates of both parking and launch.
Yes.
So it's about right now, currently it's about a 40% discount for the launch for those two categories there.
Yeah.
Do you have live-aboards or live-ins and houseboats there by chance?
We have
Floating homes.
floating homes. So we have 3 floating homes which are permanent residents. We had before 1 or 2 houseboats, which are
Yes.
boats that are self-propelled. And then we have certainly a number of boat houses, which are basically garages for individuals' boats. And their current lease precludes them from living on board or having restroom facilities or anything like that. They're predominantly just garages.
Do you have room to expand?
We have slight room under our current leasehold from DSL. So right now there's 2 boathouses being built that have received permission to relocate there. There's probably enough room for 1 or 2 more on the outside dock, and of course we still have a few open slips. Right now, I don't believe we're accepting any additional floating homes, because then you're talking about sewage, utilities, and all of those things that go with that, the challenges associated with that area. So,
Thanks.
certainly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other visitor comments? Okay, seeing none. Discussion topics, Arts and Cultural Annual Report, Letitia Jerez Sisson. Did I say that right?
Oh, heck no. But don't worry, nobody can ever say it right, and then I'll call Patricia at the same time.
Okay. Come on up and state your name for the record, and I'll catch it. I apologize.
And just so I can mess with you guys, I'm going to pronounce it this way. I'm Leticia Juarez Sisson, and I'm the chair of the Arts and Cultural Commission here for St. Helens. And I'm here today to give you guys an update as to what we've done for the past fiscal year. And so first off, I just want to thank you guys for being here and taking the time to help us and advise us and do all the fun stuff you do, so that way we can continue to do and push our efforts to really try to establish some, fun projects for our community members. So thank you.
Well, definitely thank you as well.
It's a lot of work.
Yes.
Okay, so all right. So just to reiterate about the ACC, what our mission statement is that we want to inspire a culture of curiosity here in St. Helens, and how we do that is through various ways. One of our focuses is that we do want to partner with local organizations and businesses to support projects that are going to both nurture and explore various means of expression. And then, of course, we, as part of the commission, we advise you all, the City Council, on how to cultivate that imagination within our own community. And of course, we love to dream big. So, so what I'm going to walk you through now is just a couple of the projects that we either participated in or spearheaded through the Arts and Cultural Commission. And so, of course, the first one that everyone knows about is our 8th annual trash can painting competition. And so this one is a really nice one that it heavily, heavily involves all the community members of St. Helens. There is a bit of a process that we have them go through, which is first they must submit artwork, because if we were just to allow anybody to participate, we're going to have like 100 people painting trash cans, and yeah, no. And so we do ask that they fit a certain criteria, and basically what that is just that it's in relation to St. Helens, either it's historical, cultural, or just, creative themes. And so from that, we as the commission decide on which submissions we feel are going to fit that criteria. And then at that point, those are the participants that you see painting the trash cans on 4th of July. Which is when the competition coincides with. It's the 4th of July celebration. And so this event is actually in partnership with the Public Works and the Parks Commission. This is just one of our Summer in the Arts projects that we put on. From that, of course, as you can see, this is kind of the setup that we have. People are there from very, very, very early in the morning to start the trash can painting, and just depending on how, I want to say, detailed they want to get. Some can finish in the middle of the day. Some are probably still going through the afternoon. We do have a cutoff time because how the winners are selected is we encourage people, the visitors who are there at the event, to come up and do a little voting by number, and then at that point we calculate and then we determine who the winners are. This past trash can competition, we decided to change the categories a little bit so it would allow for more winners. And so as you can see here, we had about 12 painting teams. We had 5 cash awards. Each one was totaling $500, and then these were the categories that we had created for this past trash can competition. And then when I talk about detail, you can see to the left, that's a pretty detailed trash can right there. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, here are our winners. And so, again, they were just, community favorite, best representing St. Helens, and so these were what were chosen. And then just to show you all the other trash cans that were painted. So we had a lot of good visual elements going on with these, and so. And then these are just a couple of the individuals and the organizations or businesses that helped us to make this happen with, of course, donation of the trash cans, and just, overall just support. So now we're going to go on to our not our trunk or treat, but the St. Helens Police Department's trunk or treat. And so this was our second time, or we call it the second annual where did it go? Oh, there it goes. Trunk or treat event, and so we looked at this as a really good opportunity to connect with community members, just pretty much community outreach. And so we had a presence there just to let them know, hey, we have an arts commission, here's what's going on. Last year we did pumpkin painting, and so this year we decided to make it a little easier, and actually one of our commissioners, Patrick Nielsen, put together a really cute coloring book, and that is what we handed out to the children and their parents, along with some coloring crayons. And we just took the opportunity to talk with them, let them know we're here, if they wanted to volunteer, if they had any ideas. Again, the idea was just to get some visibility and let the community know that we're here, and we're here for them. And it was a lot of fun. There's our group right there. And so the next one everyone should be familiar with. It's the This Is Us, St. Helens project that was brought to us by Joan Youngberg. And of course, her goal for this particular project was, again, to bring together all of the community members through painting the little houses. And so her idea was to show the uniqueness and the individuality that we have here in our community, to show others this is why St. Helens is great. We have all these different personalities and artistic capabilities. And here you can see from some of the little houses, you would have flags painted. There was a marriage proposal on one. Of course, she went to the preschool classes, and you had all these little funky designs. And then, of course, the one that caught my attention was the little baby footprint, as you can see right there. And we helped in a number of different ways, whether it was just moral support or providing extra hands-on to be there, helping with people and their painting. She piggybacked off of a couple of our events, and then we just helped her at any other event that she attended. And then, of course, we helped fund a portion of the project. I believe the trees that you see there were what part of the funding went to, the construction of those trees. And all those trees right now are currently being housed at the chamber offices, right under the, I don't know what they call, like the awning or whatever, that covered space, like patio space. But this was really fun to do with her. You saw the excitement from the community. It was well received. Everyone enjoyed making a house. In the end, I believe she calculated approximately 34, if not a little bit more than 3,400 houses were painted. And so this actually inspired her to go move on to her next project, which is the flag project. So it was really cool to be a part of this one. And then this one is our ongoing project. It's the Little Free Libraries, and this one is headed by Kimberly O'Hanlon, our commissioner here, and she wanted to literally put St. Helens on the map. And how she did this with the Little Free Libraries, if you're familiar with the program, it's one of those take a book, leave a book scenarios, and it's in conjunction with the St. Helens woodworking shop. So she's working with the high school, so we're incorporating the youth involvement. And with these little libraries, when you go through the Little Free Libraries program, it's a national program organization. When you go to their website, you can do a search to see where a little library is located. And so when we say this is the official or the registered, that means that we paid a fee to have it on their map. So if someone goes onto the Little Free Library website, they pull up Oregon, they pull up Portland, and let's say they want to go even further, they pull up, Columbia County, there's going to be a pin to show that this particular, the one that you see right there, that photo, that particular little library is on that website, and that it's here in St. Helens.
I had a question about the little libraries. You just happen to be here, and I haven't asked Margaret. How do you decide, or how is it decided, where little libraries go? If I decide I want one on my block, can I just do that? Or is there some kind of process? Do you guys approve sites? Does the Parks Department approve sites? How do you decide?
I'm going to go ahead. We're very
I'm seeing
fortunate.
them everywhere, so I'm just wondering
Yeah.
if people
Well, we're
flush that
fortunate
out.
that Kimberly is here. So if I could ask her, since this was her project, I wasn't as involved with it, but she can answer that question. Sorry, Kim.
I was out on an outing to the bird observatory over in Ridgefield, and they have all these bird trails, and they have a little free library, and it's got a nature scene on it, and it's guidebooks in there,
Oh, wow.
and a little library, and there's a little bench, and so you can look at a guidebook for birds at the bird place. So I thought, well, how tricky is that? And so then I was wondering how you do that process of where they go and where they don't go.
Yeah, so my name is Kimberly O'Hanlon. I'm the Vice Chair of the Arts Commission. Sure. Sorry. Again, my name is Kimberly O'Hanlon. I'm the Vice Chair of the Arts Commission. Basically, right now, we are the ones choosing where they go. So once the Arts Commission approves a library, I go to the Parks Commission to see where the most logical place would be, and then they would approve that, and then we would move forward from there.
Okay, super.
It's not a complicated process, but, and again, if there's community members who maybe want to put in some input, I mean, that's something that they're more than welcome to do.
I've seen them also like right next to the sidewalk at a
Yeah.
bus stop in somebody's neighborhood too. So I was like, I guess
And
different
as
process.
far as those ones go, I'm not sure how that individual, what steps, what process, where they decided.
Ours is all going through the commissions.
But ours is going through the commission, yes.
Okay,
So
super.
you actually are feeding into the other information I was going to provide, is that once this little free library was established, it actually inspired the community to go ahead and create another one that they donated to the Arts and Cultural Commission. And we did have a process that we went through to get the donation and get everything approved and squared away. But that one is also registered through the Little Free Library program. So now St. Helens has 2 registered Little Free Libraries that are going to pop up on the Little Free Library website. And then that is actually a really cute one because it's designed with a Cat in the Hat theme, and it has the full backing of the Dr. Seuss family and the company and everyone in that capacity.
Super
And
cool.
so they're going to actually be doing their little ceremony to their grand opening this weekend. So we're really excited about that one. Let me see here. Okay. So that's just those are some photos of the high school student who helped create this particular one. And as you can see there, it also does include a bench. The funny thing, and I wish we had the photo of it, the plaque that you see on top of the glass right above the little roof, it has the logo for the Little Free Library. When you step back and you look at this Little Free Library, the tree arcs, so it's the exact same as the logo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, pure coincidence. We caught that and we were like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Art mimicking art is what I call it. So this one, oops, that went by too fast. Sorry about that. So this particular project, the Downtown Mural Project, was brought to you last year by past Chair Commissioner Jen Farrington, and they were just in the beginning stages, I believe, of getting everything started for this. And so now we're happy to show you the fruit of their labor. And so this project is completed. We have had, as a result of this particular project, we actually have had a couple of different community members come up and say we want to do more. And so last year we had one or two come up to us with some ideas that we were like, yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. And so we're waiting to see if they're going to move forward with those projects, so that way we can include those as well. Move to the next slide. So just to give you an idea of the amount of work that was involved with this one, it took them about 5 months. And Lisa, ex-Commissioner Lisa Brooks, she actually spearheaded this project. Her passion is working with the youth. And so her focus was working, of course, with the teenagers in the community who were passionate about art, specifically mural art. She went that specific with this niche. And so they went ahead and took a couple of field trips, some to Portland. I believe they also went to Tillamook. Tillamook has a really good setup with murals over there. And so it was just ways to show the teenagers what the murals look like. They understood the process. And then, you know, they broke down, of course, here, you know, how many sessions they sat together and brainstormed what kind of designs they wanted to incorporate. And of course, the mural, this mural is literally walking distance from council chambers. And so I think we're looking to see if we can include it in the map that Matt is putting together of all the different art pieces in St. Helens. So it's really, it's a beautiful piece. We really like it. We actually used this image as part of our holiday card for last year. And so these are just some of the groups of kids that participated. And of course, you know, with this, the idea is to inspire the youth. I know, like, our public schools right now, they're really starting to pull away from extracurricular activities and programs like art and such. And so this was just another way to really reconnect the youth with what's going on in the art community. Oops, sorry. And then these are, I don't like your stuff, Kathy. Your remote doesn't like me. And of course, these are the individuals, businesses, community members who helped to make this all happen. And so we just like to go ahead and thank them for it. Okay, cross your fingers. There we go. Okay. The Arts, Culture, and Conversation was the brainchild of Jen Farrington, our past chair commissioner. This was, again, we heard that a lot of people did not know what was going on with the commission. They felt there was lack of communication, or just, you know, that we were missing a step. And so she came up with this really fun idea to just go out into the community. And so we did that by going to different coffee shops, restaurants, and just saying, here we are, what do you want to know? And it was usually just like one or two of us commissioners who were there, and it was just our way of talking to them and letting them get to know us. We're not scary people. You can come talk to us and let them know what projects we have going on. And then really, we wanted to hear from them. Like, we wanted them to tell us, what do you want to see? What do you feel St. Helens is lacking as far as like arts and cultural projects or events? And so this was a really good way for us to connect and reestablish that broken bridge. And it worked really, really well. We got a lot of fresh ideas and a lot of great communication, a lot of great feedback. And so that's what we've been implementing throughout the year. We took a little bit of a hiatus from it. And so we actually are going to be relaunching it this summer. So we're going to be reconnecting with the community. And as you can see there, like I said, we go to a couple of different locations just throughout St. Helens. The Kindness Rocks project was another project that Jen sort of spearheaded last year, and then we picked it up towards the end of the year. And then we actually have handed this particular project to the St. Helens Recreation Program. What's really fun about it is that this was one of the ideas that was brought to us by one of our community members. And so we decided, okay, well, whenever we have one of those arts and conversations, we're going to have people paint rocks. We had people paint rocks, I think, during 13 nights. We looked for any excuse for people to paint a rock, and it was a lot of fun. As you can see here, these are just some of the designs. People got pretty intricate. My daughter just splashed a bunch of paint on hers. But in the end, you know, a lot of them had the hashtags, which was for St. Helens Arts and Cultural Commission, Kindness Rocks. And then we just spread these guys all over the community. Where I think I spent 10 minutes walking around the park down here, just finding little nooks and crannies that were hidden enough, but you could still find them. And it was really cool because there was conversation going on through social media. Oh my God, I found this rock, and then my son found this rock, and my daughter found this rock, and they were all within the vicinity that we had dropped maybe like 20 different rocks around there just for the kids to find. And so it was really fun to see that the community was engaging as a result of this particular project. And then this is just another photo of just some of the other rocks. Again, how intricate people get when they're painting their rocks. And so that brings us to the future and what we're doing now. And as you can see here, I mean, we have 7 spots on our commission for community members to participate. Right now, we are down to 2, and we just recently interviewed 4 applicants. And so we're getting ready to make a decision soon. Our meeting is May 28th, and we're going to decide which applicants we feel are going to be good commissioners, which then we would pass along those recommendations to the city council. And then, you know, we're going to have full capacity as far as commissioners go, and we're really excited. We actually have 2 new commissioners as of this year. One of them is Maggie Clayton, and then the other one is Carly Franklin. And so all of them are coming in really excited, really motivated. They have ideas that they're already talking about. We have to tell them, slow your roll, fiscal year's not done yet. But I am encouraging the commissioners to come together on the May 28th meeting with all of their ideas. That way we can be proactive, begin the discussion process, so that way when the next fiscal year starts, we can start implementing those projects and making decisions and starting for the next fiscal year and really getting stuff out there. We are excited to welcome our new council advisor, Stephen Topaz. Margaret, you know, she's been on board for as long as I can remember. I've been a part of the commission for, I want to say, going on 3 years now, and so I've seen the evolution of our group. And I just can honestly say I'm really excited with the new vibe that we have. I'm really encouraged that we're going to be putting out some really fun activities for the community, so I really look forward to seeing what comes of it. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Hey, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. Look forward to learning some more about your projects.
I did think of something I didn't know. Would you ever consider doing an art project as a tribute to someone in the community?
They would have to bring it and present it to us and let us know who the community member is and the reasoning and what they're envisioning, and then we can take it from there.
Okay.
But that's
Thanks.
our meetings. Community members are welcome to come and present those kinds of
I
ideas.
didn't understand that.
She didn't understand that.
I did.
That was
I
beautiful.
understood
That
it.
was beautiful.
Super, thanks.
Yeah, but that's part of what we're here for, is when community members have projects in mind such as that, they come to us, we ask all the right questions, so that way we can put our support behind it. And then, of course, they come to city council if need be to get additional permission.
Super.
All right? Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, library report, annual report, Heather Anderson Bibler. Come on up, Heather. Oh,
I am not Heather. Heather, unfortunately,
She's
could
like,
not
"Wait a
be
minute
here
here."
today.
I don't know why she was looking at me. Funny.
Okay, so My name's Amanda Heineman. I'm the chair of the St. Helens Public Library Board. So, in getting this presentation ready, the library board believed that the library director, Margaret Jeffries, has done a fantastic job of keeping the council up to date on the events that the library has been holding. So this presentation is going to be more about what the board does to meet our bylaws. So, and I would also like to take this opportunity to note that we have some vacancies on the board, and if anyone would like to grab an application, they are at the library. Okay. So this is our current board. One of us is missing, but we are a strong board. And these are our term limits. As you can see, someone is leaving, but the rest of us are termed until the 2020s. And so, per Article 8 of the bylaws of the St. Helens Public Library, our goals and responsibilities are to keep informed of the current trends in library services and administration, study library growth and its needs in the city and its vicinity, develop long-range plans for library service and facilities consistent with city priorities and with state, regional, and national goals pertinent to libraries, recommend types of service for the library and its vicinity, and investigate sources of funding for library services and facilities, and recommend policies and procedures that are conducive to efficient and effective operation of the library. And review and recommend terms for contracts and working relationships with other public agencies regarding the library, encourage widespread public support and use of the library, and submitting the annual report to the City Council, which is right now. Okay. So, first up, keeping informed about current trends in library services and administration. This is our Vice Chair, Heather Anderson Bibler, who could not be here today.
Hi, Heather.
She attended the Joint Oregon and Washington Library Association Conference, where she states that she learned how libraries and cities are working with people experiencing homelessness, and she attended a workshop regarding staff training on working kindly with the homeless population. And she is, when we meet again, she will be reporting on that to the board. Continuing and keeping informed about current trends, this is our board having a very fun meeting. The youth librarian Gretchen came in to tell us about the STEM program that she's running at the library, and she let us experiment with the 3D pens for quite a while. So that is us. Okay. So in studying library growth and needs in the city and its vicinity, our Community Partners Working Group has interviewed social service agencies to assess the need for adult literacy services, and at our last meeting on the 13th, we had a representative from PCC stating that they will be offering adult reading and writing classes starting on June 24th at WorkSource in St. Helens. The library supports this program as it helps the community increase its literacy and job readiness. Okay. Develop long-range plans for library services and facilities consistent with city priorities with state, regional, and national goals pertinent to libraries. So in 2017, we established 4 working groups with 2 staff members and 2 board members. And the working group's goal was to work on identified problems in our library strategic plan. And one of those was our facilities working group. They had advocated for an improved emergency egress that led to the addition of an exterior door this year. The improved emergency egress and the addition of the exterior door will lead to increased safety for the library staff and its patrons. And then types of library service. The library board also participated in the selection of the Oregon Humanities Conversation Program topics. The library board selected topics that we felt would be most impactful to the community. Previous topics for this year have included Does Higher Education Matter? And It's a Free Country. And our communications working group advocated for the creation of a library Facebook page. It recommends features and topics for inclusion. This allows patrons to be updated with events that are happening at the library, as well as allow engagement with the community. And 2 of our board members, Leanne Murray and Melissa Gale-Run Maggie, lead the library's book club that now meets every other month. And this event was popular enough that we started as quarterly, but now we have moved it to every other month. And I'd like to remind people that our next book club is May 23rd at 7 p.m. The topic is motherhood and sisterhood. Get there if you can. Okay. And then other library types of services that our board members run. Becky Bean, our board member, leads Writers Write. They're a group that meets twice a month at the library. And Becky Bean also is the municipal liaison for the National Novel Writing Month. And then this is fun. Our past chair, Mary Ellen Funderburg, secured a $10,000 grant from the Oregon Communities Foundation to support the Dolly Parton Imagination Library for Columbia County. The Dolly Parton Imagination Library mission is early literacy. This aligns with the St. Helens Public Library, and I don't know how familiar you are with it, but it's essentially any child ages 0 to 5 in Columbia County can sign up for free, and they are mailed a book every month until they are 5, in which they graduate out. And as the time of this slide was created, 941 children ages 0 to 5 have been enrolled, and we have 71 graduates, and Mary Ellen has been helpful in raising $43,000 locally for this program. So our Access Working Group researched and recommended policy changes concerning fees and library card programs, such as quarterly cards and the Passport program. Obviously, the quarterly library cards and Passport program help patrons increase access to library materials. Review and recommend terms for contracts and working relationships with other public agencies regarding library services. We mostly have been having Margaret keep us up to date on the merger of the Scappoose and St. Helens library catalogs. This is really helpful because now you can, with the Passport program and this merged library, you can now see books that are available at Scappoose, and you have the ability to go check them out as well. So our library is not just contained to the St. Helens library. So this is the library at the police department's Halloween trunk or treat event. That is our board member Patrick dressed up as a purple wizard with a dragon. This was a fun event for the library to participate in, and it keeps us visible in the community. And this is our other board member, Lisa Beardsley. She worked a table at Makerfest. Makerfest is an event that the library holds that encourages all ages to create. Some of the projects included were button making, Lego building, origami, stop motion animation, and it also included a demonstration from the St. Helens High School Robotics Club. And then here are additional pictures. This is our youth librarian, Gretchen, hosting a program for making zines, which are mini magazines. And here's additional photos. This is story time and the stop motion animation program. Oh no. We're gonna have to go through this real fast. Okay. And finally, I kind of messed it up, but this is our 2019 volunteer and board group picture at our appreciation dinner. And again, I just want to encourage people to apply for the vacancies that we have on this board. If you're interested, applications are in the library.
Well, that's a pretty good little turnout for your party there, Margaret. Mm-hmm. And board.
It's because we have good volunteers.
How many vacancies do you have?
We have about 3 vacancies.
How many?
3.
Our board can be anywhere from 7 to 9 members per our bylaws. So we're at 6 right now, and we've officially just advertised for 1. But we have the capacity to add more should we decide to. And this event was held at Wild Current, and we had a catered dinner, and that includes not just our volunteers, but our board members, friends of the library, our intern, and also our community partners. If we have an organization, like you see Les Waters in the front row, we have a regular cooperative relationship with the Museum Association, with the genealogy group, and so when we have a partnership like that, we invite them to be part of the recognition event because they contribute a lot of hours to putting on programs like the ukulele group and others. So it's a nice little event.
That concludes our annual report to the City Council for this year.
One of the things that they mentioned very quietly, and it was mentioned by the art group, they're beginning, well, I don't know about how beginning, but quietly, they're working with a number of other groups, the police, the high school, the rec department. They're building a connecting community quietly, but using other people's talents and facilities. And this is one of the ongoing things that these groups, I've also talked to Shanna and the rec department, that is starting to really come to fore to help our community. So many of these things are not a single operation, but cooperative with a number of other groups with very good results.
Agreed.
I love the presentation. I think it's great to always review policy on occasion and just go. I mean, we just did it ourselves not too long ago, and wish the arts and cultural was still here because that would probably be a huge recommendation for so many people coming in brand new that you actually ramrod through that. It's not fun, it's boring, but it's necessary.
Thanks.
Yes.
You're welcome. Thank you
Yes.
for having me.
Yep. Okay, so we're gonna jump to, unless Amy is coming in. Okay, we're gonna jump to Sue. Okay, and we're gonna do street fund future project presentation. Matt and Sue. Yes. Where's Wood? Right here. We're ahead of schedule. I'm knocking on wood.
Don't speak too soon.
Hey, Kathy, can you hit the laptop button on the display? Okay. So we had a somewhat light agenda today, so Sue and I thought it would be a good opportunity to talk with you guys about the street fund, some of the projects that are on the list to be done in the future, and some of the funding issues that we have within the street fund to get all these projects done. So we thought this would be a good opportunity to just kind of inform and educate the council. Well, obviously we have a new council member here, so this could be some additional information to you guys and new information for probably him. So you want to start? Okay, so
We rehearsed this.
Yeah, I
Few
can
minutes.
tell. Yeah.
well, come on, give me a little. I'm a little busy. Both a little busy. Okay.
Yeah.
So the street fund mainly gets its revenue from 4 basic categories. The motor vehicle tax, which you're all aware of, that's where the street fund gets a majority of its revenue. As you can see, I wrote in there in 1920, the motor vehicle tax makes up about 70% of the revenue that we bring in the street fund. The other money, or I should mention, in your packet as well, I've included the 2019 state shared revenue information that we received from the League of Oregon Cities. That's where we get our estimates of how much revenue we're going to get, and it's on a per capita basis, so based on our population. The highway trust and fund revenue, the fourth one on the top graph, shows how much we get basically per resident of revenue for that motor vehicle tax, and that's set by the Oregon legislature and all that.
Definition on population is that area within city limits.
City limits. So 13,240, I think it is, in the 2019 year.
I believe they use the Portland State population estimations for those figures. Yes.
So I'm not going to go into a real in-depth analysis, but I provided you with this information should you choose to read it on your own time or at a later time. The other revenue source that makes up a lot of our project reimbursements are state grants, or what we call STP funds. And I'm going to probably let Sue talk for a few minutes about that.
Yeah. So the STP funds, STP is the Surface Transportation Program. It's funds that are allocated to every state through the Federal Highway Association. And then the state has a program where the cities are, all cities and counties are, again, based on population, are allocated a certain percentage of that federal highway funds. That money doesn't just automatically go to every city and county. That it's reimbursable funds. So we have to write to the state and say, hey, we want to do this project to do an overlay on a street, or crack sealing, or build sidewalks, or repair potholes. And they will say, yes, that is a qualifying project. How much do you expect to spend? And that's within our annual allocation or any leftover funding that we may have from previous years. Then they will say, go ahead. And we will have to do the whole entire project, pay for the whole entire project, and then send them receipts, and they will reimburse us for ensuring that that project met those original requirements. Yep. And then they will reimburse us. That the money that is provided to the state on that behalf is what they call in an exchange program. In other words, if the city share, just for simplicity's sake, if the city share that year was $100,000, they exchange that because they have to provide administrative services to the feds for this money. So they exchange those funds at a percentage of 94%. So we would only get $94,000 out of that $100,000 allocation. So, and that's about what we get every year, is just a little over $100,000 is our allocation. So if we've got a paving project, those projects are usually in the $200,000 to $250,000 range if we want to make them effective. So you can see that at 1 year's allocation doesn't go very far as doing capital improvement project. So in the past, we've been able to kind of save up, take 2 or 3 years worth of that funding and be able to then do a single larger project. But they've just changed the rules just this year, and now we have to use all of that funding within a 3-year period. So and if you don't use it, it goes away. We don't get the opportunity to save it up and use it for something else. So now we have to just turn things over a little bit faster, which is one of the reasons why we have several street projects on our capital improvement list this year. Those will all be funded out of this Surface Transportation Program, the Exchange Fund program this year. But then we don't have those opportunities to save up for like a larger $500,000 project any longer. So,
Okay. Yeah.
so that's pretty much where all the money that we do, any sort of capital improvement projects within the streets, everything comes from that fund.
Okay. Is there other resources out there that we can tap into for
Just
other than
grants.
Just grants.
Grants. There really isn't any other source of regular income.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
So
know
so
we're
we
pretty-
apply for
I
grants.
know we're pretty good at getting grants too.
We've been very successful
Yeah.
on getting a few of them. Not as many as we apply
Okay.
for, obviously, but yeah, we aggressively go after grants when we have those opportunities.
Is the wind blowing from Washington? They talk about improving the infrastructure of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Any indication that's really true? Or is it just wind so far?
Wind so far as far as what we've seen for funding sources, we haven't seen really any kind of increase to put towards infrastructure. It would be wonderful if we did see that, because
So it's
as you've
just the PR out of Washington, not reality, as you say.
not as of yet. Yeah, not as of yet. I'm sure that will take some time to look at those types of situations and find funding sources for that, because that's a significant investment in infrastructure needs.
So with regard to grants, most street-related grants are based off the classification of street, and they're arterial and above. Most of our street is the smaller streets and network connector streets, so that gap of funding is a really missing piece when it comes to grants.
Sure.
Very good.
And some communities have done, street maintenance fees, kinds of things to fill that local gap to get those paving conditions satisfactory.
So it really there's a small window for opportunities for money for these side streets, so to speak.
Oh, there's no.
I mean,
Yes,
very-
extremely small. Yes,
little
yeah.
tiny sliver.
Yeah, as John was just saying, most of the grants that we have received are for the larger classification streets: Columbia Boulevard, which is either a collector or a minor arterial; Gable Road, which is a large project that you will see construction activity this summer, but that's a county road right now, and that will be 98% funded by
It'll be
grant
nice when
funds.
that's done.
It'll be nice when it's done. Yes.
Yep. So it makes sense why Portland, even the city of Portland, their side streets, sometimes you get on them and it's like, you make a wrong
That's
turn
correct.
and it's like, oh my God.
That's
what did
correct.
I just-
Local streets don't often qualify for
Yeah.
any sort of grant funding, which is why we're limited to these funds and why we try to use them as, to the best,
Yep.
get the biggest bang for the buck that we have available.
And just to briefly touch on Mr. Topaz's comments, in the League of Oregon Cities, I'm going to show you this graph here at the top that shows the orange portion, which is the future, and the highway funds kind of going up, which is great news. However, that trickled down to actually how much more money we're going to get as a city. I predict this next year we're going to see about $35,000, maybe $40,000 more. Next year we may see an additional $25,000, which is nothing to bark at, but when we have projects that are $400,000, $600,000 and larger, an extra $25,000 doesn't go a whole heck long way. So, did you want to talk about street sidewalks? We just started that a couple of years ago.
Oh, sure. We have a small fund that a couple of years ago we started instead when we have development, even just a single house that's being constructed, and if there's no existing sidewalks on the street where the house is being constructed, typically in the past that developer has had to sign what's called a letter of no remonstrance, which means that they can't vote no if the rest of the neighborhood decided to build sidewalks and they wanted to implement a local improvement district. It doesn't mean that they will end up having to build the sidewalk. It just means that they can't vote no if that situation ever came up. Well, we didn't feel that was really going to help get any sidewalks built in the future. So what our code allows us to do is charge a fee in lieu of construction. So whenever a house is built on an undeveloped lot and there's no other existing sidewalk infrastructure on that street, and there's really it's not feasible that it will be constructed within a reasonable amount of time, we have a set fee in lieu. So it's a calculated amount based on the frontage of that lot and their driveway, and then that is calculated, and it could be anywhere from a couple $1,000s to however long their frontage is, and then that fee is charged when they get their building permit, and that goes into a special fund that is set aside for future sidewalk construction, and it doesn't have to be on that particular street. It can be anywhere in the city. That's our code allows for that, and so we've just started that a couple years ago. We've had a few people that have paid into that, but I'm sure it hasn't collected a gigantic amount of funds. Did you have a number on that amount?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So far, the last couple of years, we've collected right around $8,000 to $10,000 per year about that for that. So we have a little bit of money saved up for sidewalks. Like I said, it takes a while to save up to do anything kind of a significant project.
Yeah.
So the only other really thing is miscellaneous revenue. I do want to mention the rental house that's listed up there. That is the property on Old Portland Road that we bought that we currently rent out. The street fund bought that property, receives rental money to help pay it back. The future idea is that the urban renewal will purchase that from the city, and we'll figure out what the difference is between how much revenue we've brought in. So we pay back the street fund, what it used to purchase that house, and so that's what that rental house income is. Any questions on revenue for the street fund?
Yeah, this comes under maybe a couple comments or questions under safety, and I'm going to give reference to the last Parks Commission meeting, and one of the individuals testified about a safety issue in the cliff area. And those specifically was pointed at the lack of guardrails and cited 2 incidents of people going over those cliffs. One happened last year and one happened quite some time ago. And so is there any kind of planning in place to put up guardrails where they should be put up?
No, there's no specific planning. Yeah, as you said, the 2 incidences were brought up. One was a vehicle-related incident that happened some time ago, and a guardrail was installed for that particular situation. The other was they were people viewing the fireworks. They weren't in a vehicle, and because of some adult beverages that were consumed, they made a mistake in where they apparently were walking. The location in that particular instance is not somewhere where it would be feasible to install a guardrail, but potentially a fence along that area, a short fence.
Yeah.
To just
You know,
for
I just don't
safeguarding
like,
of
I just don't like
pedestrians.
obstructing views of
And
of
that's
people,
that's a consideration.
You know, I
of,
mean,
yes.
the few people, I think there was 2 that were intoxicated, and then accidents do happen. You hit the brake or the gas instead of the brake. Could have been a number of reasons there.
Yeah, but that was not a vehicle-related situation.
The one was though
The one that happened in the
involved guardrail.
1970s,
Yeah.
about 40 some years ago.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
40 some years ago. Okay. All right. So, but we've had 2. It sounds like maybe 2 incidences on the cliffs here in the blackberries and intoxicated people. Because there was one. Just
Oh, that was at this. Okay, I'm not sure of a recent one, but
Yeah,
with
there was
about 2
one
or so years
the-
ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was one.
It
not
was
too long
2
ago, too.
people.
Fire department had to go down, unless it was a recap
That was,
of 2
that
years
was
ago.
that was a
The 2-year
non-call.
anniversary. That was a
No.
non-call.
Yeah, somebody reported and it wasn't actually real.
Really?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Is it signed over there
So
as
don't
abrupt
always
edge?
believe what you read on Facebook.
No, I don't believe it is.
There's no sign.
Is the moral of the
you know,
story.
Because it is a whole rock bluff.
Mhm.
It would take a lot of work to put anything over there.
Yes, it would.
So I think, I don't know whether it's prudent for signage to say abrupt edge, no pedestrians or something, or little one of those animated things that shows the little cliff guy falling or something. I'm seeing those
something-
in other parks with abrupt edges
Sure.
where people are likely to walk or play. I've
Sure.
seen those little signs that are about this big that have
And that could be
rather
something
than a full-blown
something
fence
to
that
look
obstructs the
into. Yeah,
view,
that could be
but
something to look
that
into
says,
and
heads up,
yeah.
this is not a path.
Correct. Correct.
Because there is one spot over there where there used to be a path a long, long time ago that's been closed.
There is a location where there is a current path, but maybe not right in that exact location.
Yeah, there's a
there.
couple places over there where it looks like people used to go down and you don't anymore.
Yeah.
That I think sometimes over there, under questionable lighting and questionable judgment, people are making mistakes.
Questionable judgment would
where the animals
be
You know,
the
back in the-
biggest contributing factor.
Back in the day when the CCC was active in our city, There's many of the stone walls that are, what, 2 feet, 2.5 feet, so going down the hill,
Right.
going up this hill.
Right.
Quite a few of those areas do exist now in terms of safety. So I just thought I'd put light on that since it was a testimony, and I don't know if that person is coming forward with other people and other concerns regarding that.
Right.
But it's just kind of a heads up, and I just had to comment about it. I do have one other comment to make, and that's kudos to Public Works for, in the last 10 years, for paving the enormous amount of miles of streets that were unpaved for years and years and years, and that helps our stormwater problem. And there are still a few streets out there that are unpaved. Is there plans to, in the near future, to get those paved and engineered?
Just as there are plans to do all these wonderful projects that are in the transportation system plan, it would be lovely to be able to pave the rest of those. But as we've just been talking about, the few remaining streets that are still gravel have drainage issues that are not easily solved, and storm drainage has just as many funding issues as street maintenance. So to do those projects, we're probably talking for a block or a half of a block, over $500,000 to do those. So if funding opportunities were available, yes, we would absolutely go forth with those.
On funding possibilities, under the word safety, is there other funding as compared to under the word highways or streets?
There are some grant opportunities that are related to safety, but obviously those are very highly competitive, and the higher classifications of streets usually take priority over the localized streets. So there are certainly those opportunities that we investigate and we apply for when we see those types of things available.
But they're not a strong category to really go after then.
They're not as highly funded as some of the others that have a larger funding pool to be able to fund more projects. So again, when they're available, we go for those, definitely.
But as I say, they're there in theory, but not really reality.
Not reality for us as much as maybe some of the larger municipalities.
Okay, you have more to your presentation, or are we at?
No, we got more. No,
Okay.
there's more.
So
There's lots more.
we've touched on a little bit, but because we have a couple new counselors, would you touch on when we started doing those paving the streets and how many we have done compared
golly.
to the total at that time?
Yes, there's been several miles that have been paved. I wish I had a list of all of the actual streets that have been touched, but we started that program in the early 2000s, and it took over 10 years to complete, as far as we could go with the money that was available. And we went from a little over 6 miles of unpaved street to under 2 miles now of unpaved streets. So we paved over 4 miles of streets. And that was also having to do a lot of storm drainage extensions and construction.
Okay.
Say that the what we haven't talked about here is the pressures on the revenues for street funds is kind of a function of a lot of things. Many cities are having problems with their street fund. You know, there's cars are using less gas. There's a big push to electric vehicles. And the legislature took that up in the previous session and came up with the big transportation package, which is a payroll tax, 0.1%, and how that all that funds go to the state and how that's redistributed is kind of yet to be determined, and that may be some relief there, but we're kind of waiting in that. So
Yeah, again, what Mr. Topaz said, it's been talked about and somewhat implemented, but we haven't seen the money yet.
So, like I said, there's some more additional information included in your packet if you want to read that. I do want to touch on the street fund expenditures. So, a lot of our street fund expenditures is either capital outlay or having to do with internal fund charges. So we have personnel services, which are your people. That makes up about 30% of the street fund's budget. So that's an allocation done by all the public works employees and engineering department that is split out between water, sewer, streets, and storm. We have materials and services, and about 29% of the operating expenses are internal fund charges. So that would be our general fund support services, charges to the equipment fund for equipment, IT fund, and then a public operations fund. Then you have your normal everyday operating supplies and utilities. That's about 8%. Projects and capital outlay, that accounts for about 29% of the operating budget. And then debt service for the lighting project that we completed, that's about 4% of the operating expenses. So just wanted to touch on where we are expense-wise, how much money we spend on actual projects versus...
Is that loan? Is that low interest? I mean...
It's fairly low interest. So you're not going to get...
Are we, what, should we be paying that off somewhere with some monies? When we have money, it's coming out of the...
We have money. It's not money that's directly... So right now we're paying the street debt with street revenue. If you decided to pay it off from another source, that would be moving revenue from somewhere else to pay for the street fund. It's about $600,000, almost $700,000 right now, just because you've just started paying back the loan this last year. So,
could you figure it out, Matt? What over, how long is the loan? Did you say? 2031, so another 12 years. Can you figure it out? Just see what the interest will be.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna save, if we have some money and we could borrow it from somewhere else to pay it back, and loan it to out of somewhere, go cut some more timber. Timber's going up. I don't know.
Well, the earning, you'd have to offset by the earnings that those investments are making too. So it's probably going to be really close right now. But we could look into it.
Yeah. So this is a map from our transportation system plan, which was completed back in 2011. These are a listing of all of the near-term projects. Included in your packet is a detailed list of what those projects are and the estimated cost. The thing I want you to keep in mind when you look at those costs are those are numbers from 2011. So they're a decent amount higher now in 2019 than they were back in 2011. But that project detail list is there should you choose to read more about that. These are a list of our midterm and long-term, this is midterm projects and those project listings, and then long-term projects and those listings. So I'm not going to focus at all on those mid or long-term projects. I'm just going to show you the near-term projects. And I want to preface when I show you this that we're not here today to make any decisions. We're not here today to choose one project over another.
Come on.
Mainly because we don't have the money to do one project. Unless you really want to drain the entire street fund. So this Excel spreadsheet correlates to the colors on your map. So if you were to look at project 13 and 27 on Gable Road, that's an estimated $1.5 million of projects. The city is projected to pay about $400,000 of that as a partnership.
The actual cost of that is closer to $2.5 million.
Yeah, that's again, the 1.5 is the 2011 number. So what I really want to boil it down to is that we have some projects that are listed in gray here. Those are county road projects. City projects is about $9.8 million, and we have about $2 million in the bank. So that's the conundrum. Like I said, we're not here today to solve that problem. There are funding opportunities that we will continue to look at for doing projects, But when we look at the street fund and the future projects that we have on the list, in the TSP plan, these near-term projects should have been completed by 2016. So this does not also include the corridor master plan that is still being developed and finished and will be finalized. So when you add the corridor master plan, Riverfront connector plan, sorry, into the TSP, that obviously just makes the number a little bit bigger. So at least we wanted to allow some time for Sue and I to come educate you a little bit on the revenues and the expenses and some of the projects that we have listed and the amounts, just to give you some more information should you want to ask more questions later or do a more in-depth look of these projects and talk to Sue or Jacob over those projects specifically. We're happy to do that and chat whenever you would like.
And also, if you, it's hard to read the notes in there, but there are actually several of these projects on the near term that have either been done or are being done right now or in the planning stages. Not everything is just at a complete standstill. So, like for example, the Gable Road project, again, a county road, a joint project with the city as far as the grant application was jointly applied for with the city. So that's going on right now. There's pedestrian improvements over by the middle school. Those will be partially done probably later this summer as the middle school continues on with their project.
Will that fall on the middle school itself?
Yes, on just on their side of the street. So that's there's that in the works. We just received the grant for the sidewalk on Columbia Boulevard between Sykes and Gable Road. So once the county Gable Road project is complete and then we complete the sidewalk for the connector along Columbia Boulevard that will connect the new Gable Road sidewalk up to Sykes Road. We'll have a complete pedestrian pathway all the way up to Lewis. What's the school over there?
McBride.
McBride. I don't have kids in school, so
There's just so many kids walking that stretch. And
yeah, exactly.
We've made a lot. I know it's not relevant to the road, but I know access was granted there where those two homes were relocated there.
Yes.
To allow path to get from over in that big area over there off of Matson Street, go to the high school without using, scary streets.
Right.
So we have a lot of things.
Yeah. So they'll have that access, plus they'll have a safe, real sidewalk on both sides of the roads on Gable Road, and then be able to continue up Columbia Boulevard up to Sykes. And then with that Columbia Boulevard sidewalk grant, we'll also be doing intersection improvements at the Columbia Boulevard Sykes Road intersection.
Yeah, baby.
So it'll do.
I'm just looking at some of these projects.
But we're still working on them.
Yeah, and I'm amazed though. I know they're near term, but I'm looking at McNulty Way, the sidewalks from Gable to Millard, and I'm thinking, I know that falls in our UGB, but that's really not. I mean, we should probably focus in the downtown area. South 12th Street. I grew up on South 9th. I rode my bicycle and walked that hill a number of times back and forth to Condon School, which is now Lewis and Clark. And the swimming pool. And it's always been that way. I think for almost $1 million in that project right there. We've talked about with Jerry Belcher about this up here on the 3rd Street, pedestrians sharing the road and bicycles sharing the road with painted lines. I think we need to investigate more into some of the standards. Maybe not even just in the United States, but look outside too, because I know there were some ideas brought up. I mean, that's $1 million.
Correct.
Right there.
Yep.
There's a good philosophy of projects too that you noticed. Well, you may not notice because you probably haven't looked at the spreadsheet as much as I can. But a lot of these projects in the near term are pedestrian related or bicycle related. There's not a lot of roadways, so to speak, projects on this list. So a philosophy and discussion of, do you spend a lot of money on putting bike lanes in? Do you put in the sidewalks with the thought later that you may add some bicycle lanes or whatever in the future? But that may be a philosophy discussion for the council at a later time.
Well, as we move forward with our developments, we also have an urban renewal funding in place. Does that take in account quite a few of these projects? Can the funding sources come from urban renewal to fund some of these projects?
Like the corner of Old Portland and 12th probably could, because it
Yeah.
falls within that
Yeah.
little area. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank
So
you.
would chip away at it a little bit. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Now, not on this list, but obviously as you drive around, there are things that you think should be done. Do you have kind of an unfunded list that maybe should be done just because? Because these obviously have to be done at some time schedule.
Yeah, these should be done at some point in time. That's correct, and some of them will be done by just by development of surrounding properties. And yes, of course, we always have a to-do list of things that we would like to see done. Mostly, it's overlays of streets and improvements of the existing streets. But yeah, that list will never go away. As you cross things off, more things get added.
One of the things would be nice if someone would come up was a bridge over the railroad tracks for pedestrians and bikes. Not as important as any of this, but do you have a list like that? It'd really be nice if we had one of these.
Those types of things are actually included in the transportation system plan. They're things that are looked at as long-range planning, but they don't include them in their cost estimates because of the extreme costs that they would be. But if you look in the long-term planning portion of that, you will see not just for bicycles and pedestrians, but vehicular an overpass, those types of concepts in a couple of different places. Yep, those are definitely things that are on that if money was no object wish list.
So you got to make sure you got all the categories on the table to figure out where all the wishes are. Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So that's all we had, unless you guys have any other questions for us to follow up on. Okay.
We need money.
Money.
Show me the money.
That's pretty much it.
Okay, we jumped them ahead of you, Amy, because you guys weren't here. So we're going to get a quarterly report from Judge Amy Lingren. And do you guys want to come up together? No? Okay. Okay, so we're going to get a report from our prosecutor, Sam Erskine. Yep.
One of the things I can update you about. So what's being passed out are copies of, they're paperclipped together, but the first set of copies that's stapled together is the new victim packet, I call it, for that I mail to victims on cases that I charge. And then the second set that's stapled is what it used to be. And there's obviously a visual difference, but I can tell you in substance, rather than going through all the details, that the new packet is a little more detailed in terms of specifying what a victim's rights are on a particular case. And it's hopefully makes it a little bit easier for victims to provide to me what I need in order to get restitution for them on a case. So one of the goals that I have, one of the goals was to, I guess, refine this victim notification process a little bit. So this is kind of the first step in that goal. And one of the outcomes I'm hoping to get is that I'm hoping that you will see the restitution number, which Matt Brown sent out the court numbers to everyone. And I'm hoping that you will see this on the second page of that, the restitution number, which is the money recovered for victims to cover their financial losses and crimes. I'm hoping that that number will go up significantly, because I think that's a big part of, I guess, righting the wrongs that occur from, I would say smaller kind of property crimes property crimes like theft and criminal mischief and things like that. So that's been one of the goals that I've had. I think I've talked to you about it in the last 2 reports that I've made. And so this is kind of what I think is a fairly substantial first step towards hopefully improving that process going forward. Beyond that, I can tell the council that the court has made a lot of strides in developing what I would call kind of a living, breathing, functioning jury trial system, which seemed like it didn't really exist prior to this. So we now have, and Judge Lindgren can probably speak more to this, because I think she's been more responsible for the development of it, but we have a better system for calling prospective jurors, which is a big undertaking for staff. And obviously we need jury pools with enough people in them to select 6 jurors to sit on a misdemeanor trial, 6 impartial jurors, which this has been a new experience for me, but in the jury trials we've had, obviously St. Helens is a smaller town, so a lot of the prospective jurors have, might know a witness or a defendant, and so those kinds of things come up.
Conflict of interest.
Right, right.
Yes.
And so we've, to have built that seemingly kind of from scratch, I think is a really huge improvement. And it's basically, I think, if there were one thing that you were hoping to have from your municipal court, it would be the ability to give defendants, a fair and impartial jury trial.
Well, I like this paperwork that it gives them gives you clear directive and asks them the questions in order to fill out so you can represent them to the best of their ability too for the victims. So.
Yeah, and I think the restitution process is kind of difficult because it requires some organization, because I can't, someone can tell me, oh, this thing that was damaged cost $600, but I really need some verification of that in order to go into a courtroom and get that $600. So hopefully this will give people enough kind of structure to get me that information. And I can tell you that, I've been using this, I think, for 6 weeks now and my response rate has been better. And it's just, I guess, anecdotal at this point because I don't have numbers for you, but it seems to be better than what it was using the previous set of forms. So that's pretty much what I have for you. Judge Lindgren, I think, is going to talk about, we did have a meeting with Matt Brown and then Judge Grant and Jeff Auxier over at the circuit court to just kind of continue the open lines of communication that we have with them, because I think that's really important to both Judge Lindgren and myself, that we're treating people kind of similarly to how they might be treated in the circuit court, and also using circuit court resources to address problems that the municipal court really isn't designed or capable of addressing, which primarily relates to defendants that have substantial mental health issues. We don't really have the infrastructure of a formal probation office or a specific court that meets every week, like a mental health court, to help address those problems. And so I think we're trying to coordinate that with the circuit court going forward.
Yeah, so could you recommend them to a different court?
So what we've done in the past is when there have been kind of identifiable mental health issues with a defendant, I have contacted someone in the DA's office and asked them to review the case. And then if they say, sure, we'll take this one from you, we dismiss it in our court, and then they file it over in circuit court.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, there's some kind of logistical difficulties in getting something over to them, but they've been really great about working with me in particular, and I think the court in general so far.
Well, we appreciate that, because we're ready to close down courts because give it all to them, and they didn't want it. So.
Right. Yeah, maybe they're really happy that it's just an infrequent
And
call.
my son actually was a juror, but he didn't actually, he got canceled. So it was kind of funny. He just turned 18. Yeah. So.
Yeah, so beyond that, I don't have anything other specific updates to give you, unless if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Good work.
Just violating all the government rules, though. It's been working like that for 50 or 100 years. Why change it?
Well, I mean, I think that municipal courts in general are kind of just they're the wild frontier of the justice system. So we want to rein it in a little bit.
I know you guys have done a lot of work.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact.
I might point out that tomorrow we're having that on the lines of that communication. We're having a workshop between judge, prosecutor, planning staff, code enforcement to talk about processes and rules, and
Good.
looking forward to that for nuisances
nuisance
abatements. Not so much parking tickets and things like that, but it's the abatement process, the building code types of issues.
Sure.
So, got a lot of new faces in the people that deal with that, so we're working on that.
Good.
Do you all mind if I?
No.
From this? All right.
Yep. You guys, you're a busy man.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, Sam. I guess I'll start with the jury trial process, since Sam just addressed that. One thing I did was revised the summons that go out to the jurors. It had previously been, it looked like more of an invitation to come, which, a lot of people obviously do not like coming to jury duty. And so we were struggling to have people actually show up. And there was a trial or two where I thought I might actually have to go to the post office in my robe and pull them, because I can do that. And I have, and I would if everyone were ready. Thankfully, I didn't have to do that. But I got the circuit court juror summons and modeled it after that. And so it is much more of a summons that you need to come and respond. And if you don't, we will, you could be held in contempt of court. So thankfully your son was not held in contempt of court, but
He called the number.
yeah, but there was one juror who, I think forgot. He was an older gentleman, and we needed that one juror, to have enough people to bump. And so I actually did send out an officer to his house to invite him to come. And he gave him a ride, and he was very willing. He just forgot, and he ended up being selected on the panel. And so it was really great to have him, because then we didn't have to reschedule the trial. So that's kind of one way we've streamlined it. We've also, in revising the summons, have a number for the people to call the night before so that they know whether or not it's going and whether they need to show up. And I have a trial readiness hearing about 6 weeks before, so that the defendant comes and has to report with his attorney that, yes, I do in fact still want a jury trial.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they plea at that date because they know this is their last chance. And so that's why a lot of cases right now are set for trial, but I expect that they resolve before we have to send out the summons and go through all the work of selecting the jurors. So it's been fun, though, the trials. I think Sam does a great job. Our defense attorneys have been doing a great job, and hopefully it's a positive experience for the jurors. And it is remarkable how many of them know each other and witnesses and the defendants. It is new.
Welcome to St. Helens.
Yeah, it's funny. It's good. But I think the primary thing I wanted to highlight was the backlog. That is done. And we have Melanie Payne is quite possibly one of the most remarkable people I have worked with. Her dedication to this and the city and the sacrifices she has made personally are just outstanding. She worked, I think, almost every single day for 2 to 3 months. Saturdays, Sundays, didn't spend time with her family to get it done. And she really deserves a huge award to the extent we could give her one. I will be nominating her for Employee of the Year next year. But she's really, really been remarkable, and she's a huge asset to the city. So she and April Messenger got us through it all. And she would love to show you the front office and take you on a tour and show you how clean it is and how organized everything is. So it was a massive undertaking, but we appreciate everyone's support and
giving her the overtime to allow us to get to this point. The one thing that is still out there is cases being sent to collections. They are the current computer system, it's my understanding, requires Melanie and April to literally hand input every name, address, amount in an Excel spreadsheet. The new system that we're moving to will convert what is like 2 to 3 weeks of work to about 10 minutes. So it's worth it for us to wait on those until we get the new system, because it will save so much time and money to just wait. So at this point, a lot of them are like 4 years old. They haven't been sent to collections yet. So, you know, it makes sense to wait a couple more months to streamline that. Matt or Sam mentioned our meeting with Circuit Court. It was really great. It was very nice for Judge Grant and Jeff Auxier to give us their time. So it was hard to schedule with everyone's busy schedules. Mark Lang, one of the defense attorneys, was also there, so that we had a defense attorney voice, and it wasn't that everyone was meeting without having the defense voice. The primary things we talked about were people with mental health issues, and that they were more than willing to help us out if we needed to and take over some of those cases. We have to do it before adjudication, though. So it has to be identifiable prior to any resolution, because once they're on probation with us, we can't send them to Circuit Court, Mental Health Court. So most of the time it's pretty easy to tell just by reading the report and the conduct whether someone has mental health issues. So, or if we can't get it initially, we see it pretty evidently when they come to court, and then Sam will work with the DA's office to take it over. The other issue that...
Just a quick question for
yeah.
Chief Greenway, actually. On the profiling we talked about, it's been 3 months ago, I think the last LIPSIC meeting I attended, maybe even 6 months ago. You talked about potentially building profiles on recurring stops and stuff like that. And have you started as far as behaviors of individuals?
I don't recall this conversation.
Okay.
Kind of steer away from using the word profiling.
Yes.
Because it's not something we want to do in law enforcement.
Sure.
Although we do it. I mean, based on criminal conduct and everything. But you're referring, Mr. Mayor, to the mental health capacity?
Yeah. Yes.
I don't.
Because you guys are on the front lines. That's why.
Yes. There's a few.
The bottom line is you guys see these people on a daily basis that are struggling mentally.
Correct. I don't know.
Sometimes.
I guess it wouldn't be profiling as much as we need to create a system with LIPSIC to basically, when we have an incident, to kind of dissect certain incidents, to get all the players, like Judge Lindgren had met with the DA and Judge Grant, to bring everybody to the table and find out where the failure was and try to remedy it, try to fix it.
Sure.
But it's a lot of moving parts and everything. There are a lot of challenges, in this community, because we are the county hub, the county seat for the mental health, and we do, and like you said, we encounter more through the court system, through just regular day-to-day stops. So it's a bureaucratic challenge of getting this stuff done with the funding. I know the big picture, but as far as profiling, yes, that's a step we want to go to.
Yes.
But not profiling so much as we want to just, see what we can do better to get the better service. I do like the idea, not to.
Well, I think the mental health system is broken in the United States, period, with the.
Agreed.
When you can clearly see, when you have 3 or 4 people that have rational thinking and they can clearly see that there is something wrong with this person, and there's nothing you can do because they're not endangering themselves or another human being yet. It's just a matter of time.
It's a matter of time. I do like, for what it's worth, that, we have drug court, we have all these courts, and now a mental health court would be fantastic, and to get, to help them instead of, but again, sorry to digress or get in your.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I went sideways too. And I didn't mean to use profiling, but that's exactly what it is.
I agree. We do it at airports all the time, PSA, so.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
The other thing we talked about during the meeting with Circuit Court was getting jail calculations from the Columbia County Jail. In Multnomah County and Clackamas County, you can call a number or see it on their screen of how much time a person has in on a case, and it helps with plea negotiations and what sentence I might give, whether I'm going to give someone credit for time served or not. It's nice to know how many days a person has served. We weren't sure if they were just not providing it to us or if this was just a service they did not provide. What we learned was that the jail really doesn't have the ability to do that easily. They literally have to like take a paper file out and calculate the days. And so it didn't seem like something the circuit court was gung-ho about following up with the jail. And we would certainly need their backing in order to do it more consistent with how Multnomah County and Clackamas County does. So I'm going to table that issue for a little while, but hope that the jail gets with this century with their paperwork. But they have been wonderful with in-custody hearings and helping us get people that we need to be seen at 10:30 in the morning and getting our cases done. So they have been great. The other real issue I learned about with circuit court, not issue, but kudos to our municipal court, was that we have a much quicker turnover with our cases. We have an arraignment, and then within 3 to 4 weeks, the person is back with their attorney appearing and either entering a plea or going into DUII diversion. So we are getting through cases quicker. I think in circuit court, Judge Grant said it may take somebody 6 months to go into diversion across the street. So I was really pleased with the results we were seeing as far as getting cases through the system. So we are still doing the CCMH assessments in-house. We've now done it for a few months. It's worked really, really great. CCMH has the person come. Today was one of our days. And so they meet in the jury room and get the mental health and substance abuse evaluation completed. And with the report and recommendations there so that the person leaves with that and then are reporting to the court with what treatment needs to be done. And then we set another hearing so that the person comes in and reports to us. There's just a lot more follow through. So that's been really helpful. The other thing I'm working on is with our in-custody cases, when we do them by video, I would really like to have a defense attorney available and present on the video and have a defense attorney speak to the defendant alone before they appear in front of me. Because oftentimes I'm making release decisions of whether or not I'm going to release somebody or hold them. And it would be fair, I think, to have a defendant talk to a defense attorney who they can discuss the issues with before they come to me. So I need to explore that with Matt and how we would make it happen. Obviously, the defense attorneys want to be paid, and having someone on call isn't really realistic. So that's another thing we're working on in the near future. Finally, I'm hoping to get these electronic citations going soon. With the police officers citing the person, they have a machine, I think, and then it spits it out to the defendant, and then it basically goes into our computer system so that the clerks aren't hand doing every single name, address, ODL number. It will save the city a significant amount of time, which then saves money with staffing. So I'm hoping that will happen soon, and I'm kind of constantly pestering Sergeant Eustace about that. So that's about it. Does anyone have any questions?
On that, Judge Linger, we're the hiccup on that is that we're about to steer away from our records management system. We kind of piggyback on Portland Police Bureau, and they're having challenges. So we're in the process of finding a new report system, and we're hoping to mirror it up to our electronic citations. So, but I 100% agree with you, ma'am, is that we need to move that direction, technology, and absolutely. The good news is that the longer we wait, the better machines get, because technology is ever evolving, and, hopefully that we can get one, which even with the Oregon, we can swipe the driver's license. It'll populate all the information for the officer, and then, so I didn't mean to interject,
No,
but
I think,
that's our kind of hiccup is waiting to see what record management system they're going to go to, and we're involved in that for cost savings reason.
I think my concern with that is that if you wait for Portland to do much, you're going to be waiting a long time.
Yes.
And I know Washington County and a lot of other agencies have already implemented it. And so I'm wondering if it would be best to, instead of Portland, maybe follow the Washington County model or.
It could be. So just a real quick lesson, and this is what I learned too, ma'am, from coming here, is that when they went to the record management system they're using now with the Portland Police Bureau, Portland sponsored it. They took the brunt of the cost, and they had about 40 agencies involved. And then as they started getting, into the system, they started realizing that what they were promised wasn't delivered. So these agencies, Washington County, Clackamas, started backing out. And there was no clause, and shame on Portland, they didn't have any type of clause. They just needed 6 months, and they can back out. Well, Portland has been gracious to kind of absorb the cost in excess of millions of dollars. And then for us to go on our own would be a significant impact fiscally to the city. So that's what we're up against. So we're involved. We go to monthly meetings in Portland with their people to figure out where we're at. But that has been discussed, ma'am, is that we understand we're on it. The end date is 2021, that we have to have something. If we stay with Portland, then the good news is that it'll save the city a significant amount of money instead of hiring a records management system coming in. And so that's our time. But we also understand, I know I'm talking to Evan, and he knows how important this is to get those electronic sites to get to, to further our technology and make it easier and less cumbersome all the way around. So I will push this and remind Evan, let's see what we can do. And hopefully there's a company out there that no matter what we get, it'll be able to mirror whatever records management system we go to, ma'am. So, but with your new database, that's something that we should, if we can, be involved in, because it's something that might assist us with, if you're looking at collections, maybe, in the perfect world, be one database or one computer program that we can kind of tie into down the road somehow. I don't know how all the bells and whistles work. I'm not an IT guy, but I know that one of the challenges that we all face is that we buy a program today, and then next year we go with a different, and they don't interface, they don't talk to each other, and that's, we have to bridge that gap. So again, ma'am, I'm sorry to kind of jump on your presentation.
I'm just wondering how hard it would be, because Walgreens will take your driver's license and swipe it right now, and they have all your information. Walgreens.
I agree.
Literally, go in there.
So I'll keep you updated if.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, ma'am.
Just upload some of that information right away. If they can swipe it and get your information right now, Walgreens. If you took your license in there and gave them your license, they'll
Which is
swipe
kind of
it.
scary.
They'll scan it and
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that is the ultimate goal, obviously, with the electronic citation. So, work in progress, but I think how things have gone in the last 9 months, there's been
big improvement.
It's a roller coaster, but I
Big
think
improvement.
Sam and I are finally at the point now, with all this backlog being done, that we're really proud of the court. And I couldn't say that 6 months ago. So I'm really proud with what we've done and where we're going moving forward. So that's it.
Questions, council?
So the only suggestion next time you have a meeting with the judges is maybe include one of our officers and somebody from the county, possibly.
What section of the county?
The police force, the sheriff's office.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just make sure we're working with our police.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And probably the jail too, because then they can hear the feedback we're getting about the jail calculations and that. So, I think it's excellent idea.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, this is just a question of, kind of being attuned to national news and that kind of thing. What kind of policies do you adhere to with images from cell phones as evidence, or police cameras, or any kind of visual imagery in your courtroom?
Do you mean in a trial?
Yeah.
We have each party, the defense or the state, has to follow the evidence code. And so when they're introducing a video, basically they have to ask the police officer, it's usually not dash cam, but the video the officers have on them. They say, okay, have you reviewed this video? It's on a disc. Yeah. And yes, I have. And, does it truly and accurately reflect what happened that day. And they say yes, and generally. And have there been any edits to it? And if there have been, then they would disclose it. And then that's really all you need for under the evidence code foundationally to get it in for the trial.
Has that been helpful or a hindrance to you in efficiencies of running your court?
I think it's very helpful. It's actually incredibly helpful that the police officers have the video capabilities. One, it's remarkable how people have a different perspective of what happened. But then when they watch the video, they realize, oh gosh, there's not much they can say.
That was me.
That was me, and I did that. I said that. And so it resolves a lot of cases. Good. Having that. The prosecutor for Happy Valley, and the sheriff's office has the dash cam actually in their car, in their patrol car, and I don't think St. Helens does.
We had it, and then we got away from it. It was too costly because we have body-worn cameras now.
Yeah.
So.
But for them, they do a lot of traffic enforcement, and it's great because when somebody runs a yellow light or a red light, I mean, it's on the camera. Yeah. And so that resolves a lot of cases too. So, and for DUI cases, which are the ones that really go to trial more, it's great visual for a fact finder to see the person, on the live camera, versus just hearing the police officer say it. So.
Thanks for elaborating.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Thank you, Amy.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Look at that. 5 minutes ahead of schedule.
Isn't that nice?
Department reports. Chief Greenway.
Okay, I just have one thing. This Saturday is our first annual Traffic and Bike Safety Fair. It is in conjunction with the Columbia County Traffic Safety Committee that we're part of, and it's going to be held at the St. Frederick Catholic Church, 175 South 13th Street from 10 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. And this is in partnership with the Columbia Community Fire Rescue, ODOT, CCOM, St. Helens Police Department, and we've been working since the fall on putting this on together. So it's been advertised pretty extensively by every individual entity that's going to be there. So it's, hopefully we'll have a big turnout, and that'll be this Saturday, and that's all we have for this week. And I hope I didn't make the judge mad. So I don't want to be held to account.
I don't think you did.
Okay.
You won't be going to jail anytime soon. You're fine. Sue.
Just a couple of things. One on the agenda this evening, coincidentally, we have the agreement with ODOT for our exchange funds. And this is to actually cash in on a few previous years' funding so that we can do the projects that we have in our budget this year, which are all maintenance projects, and the North Vernonia sidewalk project is included in that list. Let's see. Also, we are moving forward and have started work on the Plymouth Street storm drain repair. So you'll see activities down there. They should be actively putting in some pipe right now. The South 10th Street storm drain project is just about finished up. Just a little bit more work, and they'll start their restoration. The waterline project on North 7th and South 11th Street, that's also just ready for surface restoration now at this time. And next Thursday, we are going to be having the pre-construction meeting for the Gable Road project over at the county. So nice. That's gearing up and getting ready to go. And we also have a few other private development projects that are actively being constructed right now. So it's busy summer.
It is.
Busy summer ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I had.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
Margaret?
Well, I think it got a pretty big dose of library news through Amanda's presentation. I just want to say I'm pleased with the way their presentation worked out. They said they didn't really feel it was relevant for them to come and reiterate all the library things that you hear twice a month from me. And so settling on going back to what their purpose is, their roles and responsibilities as outlined in not only their bylaws but the municipal code, I think gave them a good framework in which to really look at what they're doing. So they were really pleased with the way that turned out, and I am too. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Margaret. Matt?
Just a few things in the administration section. There is a quarterly court report in your packet to review. So that's there. If I'm here, if you have any questions on that, this is another thing that we just kind of threw into the administrative report, and then instead of doing an actual 10 or 15-minute presentation on it, like we did the financial report. So if you're okay with that report just being included in your packet for review, if you would prefer to have me do a little presentation about it, I'm happy to do that. But unless I hear otherwise, we'll just continue doing it in the packet like you've seen it. The other thing I wanted to mention was that the recreation fee ordinance and resolution, we have decided to go forward and create some language in our municipal code to include the recreation fee that we've been discussing. So you will have a first reading of that ordinance and language at the next city council meeting. This is not an approval of the actual fee itself. This is just a reading to include language in our code so that we are able to do it and have the option of doing it. So that will be on the agenda coming up. The other thing is the judge and prosecutor contracts are coming due. We did one-year contracts with them previous year. The judge's contract ends at the end of July. The prosecutor contract ends in June. They are set in the contract to automatically renew for an additional 1 year. So I think it would be at least my recommendation to continue, because I think they're doing great work, and just let that contract automatically renew for another year. If the city council is okay with that, there's nothing more we have to do unless you want to have other discussions about anything.
Everybody okay with that? Yes, yes, yes.
Matt, is there a COLA component to that?
There is not.
Okay.
Yep. The only last thing I have is that we had discussed in the past about doing another public forum opportunity for the recreation fee at the school district, potentially at the high school or something, in a big gym, to at least give another opportunity for the community to hear what we're doing and what we're potentially discussing. So if you would like to do that, I just need to know potentially of when you would like to do that, and I can set up a time that works with Scott and the school district to hopefully participate as well. Is there any specific date you guys had in mind that you wanted to do that?
I'll kind of weigh in on that. I think that you've already done and accomplished enough in terms of reaching out to the public, and our communication has been quite effective in reaching out to the public. So I'm thinking that we have a plan, and we should go forward with the plan, and and that plan needs to be communicated if we are going to have one of those, exactly what we are going to do, when that fee is sunsetting and why it's sunsetting, and so far what we have in mind for sustainability in our brainstorming amongst ourselves of how we're going to sustainably fund that recreation center. So I see it as a forum and a communication process for our community. Hopefully it turns out to be a positive meeting if we go forward with it.
Yep. And usually there is another opportunity for another forum before the resolution passes, usually the evening of when that resolution is on the agenda to be approved. We usually hold some kind of an open forum, just like we would for utility bill or rate increases or anything like that. So that's two potential opportunities in the future if you want to do one with the school district as well as another one here at City Hall.
I feel we need another meeting, call it an interim meeting. I'm getting a lot of static as compared to, we'll say, the formal meeting when we're discussing what the actual mechanics are. Just because there's a lot of unrest out there in the trees. You may not be saying anything new, but I think you need to allow the community to vent, because a lot of people are very upset with it. I also think I had a meeting with Shauna and with Christy from Scott's office. I think there are a lot of really neat things and enlarged opportunities of the rec program that people don't know. And I think it would be very beneficial if many of the other things that people don't know about are brought forth, even before you're having, we say, a final, when are we going to do this, how much it's going to cost meeting.
So before we leave that, I wanted to kind of introduce a conversation concept we've been talking about internally that regarding the recreation fee that reflects the council's desire to have this short-term window to look at recreation and the combination of recreation and parks as an entity that's perhaps a taxing district if it gets that direction, and just the basic naming of this effort. You know, we're calling it the recreation fee, but we've said, how about we call it the Parks and Recreation fee, just to kind of set the stage for that, so we're not adding it on later on.
Well, we just went from a no vote to a yes vote for Howard Blumenthal then.
In
at our forum.
In the code language that you will see, we specifically call the fee St. Helens Community Recreation and Parks Fee.
One of the problems I'm hearing is the name recreation. A lot of this has to do with more community involvement, and the word recreation to a lot of people only means activities, physical activities.
Comes from the word recreate.
I know what it means, but as I say, we're not worried about scholars understanding the word. We're worried about our people and their gut feelings. That's our problem. The fact that the school system and the library and the rec are taking care of kids after school, a lot of people are not involved in that. And that's where, as I say, the communication, not changing what we're doing, just how we're describing it is really our problem.
Yeah, it's to be more inclusive, to be not
I'm gonna grab a cup of coffee.
not targeting kids, but as
Very targeted
community.
for a minute.
Because a lot of people
An
like, I
hour.
don't have kids, so why should people without kids have to pay for it? And I think that's what Mr. Topaz is getting at, is letting the community know that this is an all-age thing. It is more than just Pee Wee basketball.
Totally.
And I
And
just don't think that information is in everybody's hands.
and it's specifically in partnerships. And one of the issues that I'm working with is trying to involve veterans as much as it possibly can in the rec center with an arts therapy program, and utilizing interns from Lewis and Clark who are doing their theses and working through their thesis statements, and doing a year-long internship. They're looking for places like the rec center to facilitate their programs and get experience. So there's opportunities everywhere, and if we have that amount of time to work with trying to integrate those programs with other partners in our community, such as the veterans, I think it becomes very, very important, and I think we get more of a community buy-in that way of what we're doing. And again, this whole thing is, until we get it sustainable, sunsets, and that's the most important thing that our public needs to know, is that we've got a couple of years to figure this out, and if we don't figure it out, it goes away.
I had a question. I know it was brought up in a budget committee hearing, and the youth council brought it up this week. They said, how come there isn't an opt-in box before we ever enforce it on people? It kind of goes back to that, are we asking people? We had somebody come in here and testify. They're like, I'd gladly give you $20, just like I give Glow. And there's other people that $2 is a lot of money for them. And when it was brought up, it's like, that would be too hard to manage, was kind of the sentiment. I thought, before we go out on a limb, if half the citizens would willingly give $10 and half the citizens would rather give no dollars and we still get our money, isn't that a better solution?
It is in response to that. We can easily add that onto our utility bills as an option if we want that. It just takes a little bit of money for the programmers to change how the bill looks and everything. The potential down the road is, I do not see that personally as a sustainable funding resource that you can count on every single year, like a specific fee or a tax. So you may get half the city that wants to donate $10 and half that much zero, but I can't commit staffing and resources to.
It would be the following year, because what would happen is it'd be new and people would be like, oh yeah, I definitely want to do that, and it'd be popular. And then next year it comes up on their annual time to do it, and it's far from their mind, and here we are biting our nails because we're budget's like going. "Wee."
Well, before we assume that,
Mhm.
could we find out how it works at GLOW? Because the PGE does it, Northwest Natural does it, and the PUD does
Well,
it.
I already know how it works and
Right,
that
but
we
how
can do
much
it.
money they get and what their funding line looks
If
like.
council wants another forum, let's do another forum. We've talked about this a lot, you guys. If we want another forum, let's do it. I don't want to sit here and second guess, and I agree with John Walsh that we need to make it Parks and Rec. And it's just what it's called everywhere in every city. Councilor Topaz, I don't know what else to say.
Well,
Rec.
no, I think you put a very good handle on it. If it's a part of Parks and Rec, it's under the council. If it's under Matt, administrative, that's another wave in the pond that people don't want to cross. So Parks and Recs makes more sense than just the rec department by itself.
It's not just Matt, it's the school district, it's the council as a whole. Now, I know that you have not been involved in this, so I know you've been over there trying to get up to speed on what's going on, but we are actually partners with the school district on this rec program.
Who on the council is directly responsible for this?
I told you it was Councilor Khan, but me and Councilor Khan originally.
Okay, well, that I didn't know, because when I asked somebody else, they said it was administrative, which meant it was only Matt. So that's the information that I got wrong.
No, yeah.
Okay, that makes a big difference.
Councilor Topaz, just for your education, I am not technically officially over anything.
I know that was
So
the misinformation, Matt, and that's where I'm asking the question.
Correct, but you can always come into my office and ask me, and I'm happy to answer that. Or
So,
you can talk to John as well.
clerical error.
John oversees the administration department. He delegates the authority to manage courts, financial
As I say, that's
and utility billing, municipal court, and recreation, which falls under administration under the governing policy of the city of St. Helens.
Yeah.
The Parks Department falls under Public Works, which is overseen by Rick and Doug as well.
Well, as I say, I asked a question and I assumed the answer was good, and that's what I repeated. So now that I've been corrected, I have no problem with that. But the people in the city want somebody on city council to be responsible. Now I know it's the mayor. We have no problem now.
Yep. I will take the full responsibility of this if you would like me to. I will. I have no bones about it.
You're
But
wrong already.
Not to push the button or anything, but under your new governing policy, everything does fall under you as the entire city council.
That's right.
But everything falls under John Walsh, you have given the authority to look
empower
over and
him.
manage the
Yes.
entire city.
That is correct.
Under the governing policy, all of you oversee recreation, all of you oversee parks. You are liaisons to specific departments as far as communications, but all of the managerial duties fall through John Walsh.
Okay, that's the technical part of it. What the people on the street understand is something else, and that's what people make comments about. So, don't get a burr under your saddle for misinterpretations of a lot of people, which you do. We asked a question, we got an answer, no problem.
And I'm just clearly stating, Councilor Topaz,
I'll
that
tell you
all
what.
of you oversee.
Tell you what, set it up for a couple weeks from now, 3 weeks, whatever notice you need. I will show up again. I would agree with Councilor President Morton that we've done enough already, but I will show up again. And if they want to take it out on me, come on. They need to take their $2 out on me. They can. Okay. It's not going to be popular with a small few, but the city as a whole, it's going to benefit from this program.
And Councilor Carlson, I will look into what it would cost for us to change our utility billing bill to have that option, and I can do some more research on what Columbia PUD and all the other programs potentially bring in every year for that.
I just have a question because
Yep.
it was brought up in a budget meeting, and if we have asked the question and have answered, we can still go the way we're going. He heard me.
So I will bring you back all the information about
Yeah.
that at the next council meeting.
Just because I've heard that question asked twice, and if we have the answer, it doesn't have to change our outcome, but at least we asked the question. That's all.
That's all I have.
Okay. Kathy?
The staff approved a street closure for 13 nights on the river for Thursday. You already know Thursdays, June 6th through August 29th on the Strand, the corner of City Hall to Roy Tai over to the park fence. So that's happening this summer. Every summer you guys do a couple of summer or couple of Wednesday canceling.
Yeah, we're gonna just do one because it was
Okay.
two. Yeah.
That's what I figured. So
So we want the
figured
July
3rd.
Yes, July 3rd
Okay.
one canceled.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Yep.
Community Development Department, were you gonna give that to Jenny?
That was done.
I don't know. I just needed to know because I want to
Yeah.
update the list.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
Okay.
Yep.
I thought it was done. I had conversations with Jacob and with Miss Susan and with the building inspector since our last meeting, so.
The information didn't come to me.
Yeah, I assumed when the mayor says it in this meeting, it's it's happened. I just gotta figure it out, get up to speed.
So we're good.
That's all I have.
Okay. Tina. Who is opening act for 13 nights?
It always
Hit
is.
Machine.
So I hate to ask this question because it's been hashed out a million times, and Chief Greenway isn't here right now, so I'm going to move on to something else. We are. I know. I'm working with the Sand Island Campground, and that's looking like it's going to be open and hopefully the June time frame, and they're getting campsites ready now so that we're going to be able to take some pictures of them and promote them and let people know that it's open for business. People will be able to take the shuttle for free, which is really cool, and getting ready for the 4th of July. And all that entails. Parks and Rec are doing a run on that morning. We have a lot of activities that are going on. Music in the at the Awana Credit Union stage. And, of course, fireworks and just lots of activities during the day. And the tailgating is going on. And so we have a full arena of things that are happening. It does fall on 13 nights on the river as well, so all of those vendors will be there too. Yeah, which is kind of fun. I have a question from a citizen, and that is that every weekend when people come to town, they come for various reasons. A lot of them come to take pictures of the courthouse. And as of lately, there is a county vehicle that parks directly in front of the courthouse that's like a towing, like it's a truck that's towing something behind it. And they either park directly in front of the courthouse or directly in front of the parking space that's in front of the plaza on First Street. And they see people trying to get that out of the picture and everything else. And I'm wondering if we could provide them with a place to park. It's the county, it's not city. So I'm wondering if we could provide, whoever that is in charge of, if we could provide them with just an alternative place to park so that people that come here to take a picture of the courthouse don't have to go, oh, there's a tow service truck in front of the courthouse. Bummer, but can somebody just
Facilitate
just
them.
find out who that is? Because I have no way to track that person down. But it would be kind of nice to have an unencumbered shot without it there. It's there from Friday. I think it's there from like Friday through the whole way until Monday morning, and it's just parked there, which, whatever. But it would be kind of good to not to have that there. And I just wanted to clarify with Chief Greenway if he knows what are the circumstances for cars to be towed if somebody gets pulled over or stopped and their car is like on the side of the road, is it just left there?
If it's legally parked, yes. If the police stop a vehicle and the driver's arrested for whatever reason and the vehicle is legally parked where it's stopped, it could be parked there.
Okay, and
But
how long can it stay there? Forever?
Well, not forever, whatever the ordinance is. If it's legally parked and legally registered, yes, as long as there's not. But if it's parked in like a spot that has a 2-hour limitation, then that would be it.
Okay.
Abandoned vehicles like on Highway 30 can only be there for a certain length of time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. If it's in a travel lane, it has to be removed immediately if it's immediate hazard. But was there an issue or something we can work together, Tina? Because we understand this.
Yeah, I'm just trying to like track some information down.
Right.
That's
If
all.
because we're in full support of making sure that this event goes off, and
Yeah.
then we can even move the vehicle to a different spot or somewhere, or have contact a relative, a licensed driver to come.
Okay.
That's the preferable thing, is to get the vehicle out of there.
Right.
With the cooperation of the person going to jail. But I don't think that would happen too often.
No, hopefully not. And then my other question is, because this comes up quite often for some reason, is it's my understanding that if a vehicle, if you think a vehicle should be towed, or if it's parked more than the period of time it's allotted to, that you can take a picture of the license plate number and call the non-emergency line, and then the officer, whoever is in charge of towing or checking to see if it's actually in violation, that is the way to do that. So, like, for instance, let's say there's a car that is parked for a very long period of time in a 2-hour parking location. They could take a picture of the license plate and just call it into the non-emergency line, or email the officer that's listed with that
If
particular
there's a parking
department.
issue called non-emergency,
Yeah.
the picture really doesn't do a whole lot of good.
Okay.
I mean, because you can't use that in court like Judge
Right.
Blinker. But just call. Miramar would come out, or a court enforcement, or an officer if she's not working.
Okay.
And then come out. And so there was a upcoming rule change about chalking tires. That's going to be illegal now in the state of Oregon. But that's one of the
Really?
tactics. Yes.
Illegal?
Yes. They're no longer going to be able to chalk tires. But there's still, chalking tires is kind of, it's a tool. It's not,
Yeah.
you just mark the time and everything. Along those lines, Miramar's hours just changed, her days. She's now going to be working on Saturday as we approach the summer months, because Saturday's busy with the docks. It's busy down here to make sure that people abide by the ordinances of parking and everything. That just changed this week, getting ready for the
I
summer
just
months.
got an email on the inside finger, a couple different boats. Maybe it's on the island, but I think it was here.
Okay. But yeah, Tina, the advice would be call non-emergency of a parking complaint, and they'll dispatch an officer, and then they'll hopefully remedy the situation. But again, the end goal is to free up that parking space. The citation, doesn't free it up, but hopefully we can, before we even get to that, maybe locate the owner and have them move it.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to verify that you could actually call a number.
Oh yeah,
and
that's what we're here for.
And then do they respond directly back to the person that called if they leave their name and number?
They should, but not all the time. I mean, if they do leave their name and number and would like to be contacted, yes. But 9 out of 10 complaints are anonymous, because for whatever reason. But it doesn't mean that anonymous complaint isn't as important as a person complaining. We just don't have anybody to contact to call back. But
right, okay,
right. We just remedied another anonymous complaint about a lawn service. Not to digress, but yeah, we do follow through on these. It's important to us to ensure all laws and ordinances are enforced.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much for clarifying that.
other tourism stuff.
Yes. Well, that was one because they were talking about so much parking downtown. It's been really busy over the weekend, and the art and wine walk went very well, and we had reported earnings of 40% over the year before on Mother's Day. So people were really happy, and we started off with just 4 people participating, but we have another 4 people that want to participate. So I think it will grow as we, move along and people kind of get an idea of what it's about and what it is. And 2 of those 4 people reported that they had new customers they've never had before that had signed up for future services. So that's good as well. And that they sent business to other locations in town. So that's awesome, too. Then you're probably noticing, or might notice, that there are pieces from the Museum of Peculiarities and Oddities that are popping up around town. And we're doing a walking tour of the Museum of Peculiarities and Oddities that starts at Columbia Boulevard and comes down through First Street. And we actually have more merchants that want to be involved than we have items. So we're finding more odd things in St. Helens, which is super difficult. And we are having those displayed in the storefronts. So when people are doing the tour, they can read a little story about the thing that is in the window. And Richardson Furniture is really fun to look at. And as well, we're putting them in windows where there's no businesses, so that it adds some interest to the storefronts rather than just having them taped up with paper or whatever. Although a lot of the storefronts, most of you may or may not know this, are being rented. They are in the process of moving people in or fixing up the building to a degree because they have someone that wants to rent the space. So that's a really positive thing too.
Maybe we should grab a bunch of mannequins. You don't see them in stores anymore. Maybe find some mannequins.
Live mannequins. People can sign up to be a live mannequin, like in San Francisco, Yeah.
Pictures of the council.
They're peculiar, I say. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right, John.
All right, there's several things here. The build grant, the resubmittal of the build grant, we've been working on a couple tracks with that. One's the technical with Alta Planning and Design, coming up with the design inputs and the kind of redefining the project so that it'll be the most competitive it can be. And the other, the political track of the public relations piece, pushing our Congress people, a similar path to last year. And that's all going well. We were calling it the boardwalk. We're kind of flirting with the idea of a river walk, which is still essentially, they're kind of synonymous in most people's mind, at least in mine. But there's a number of river walks now are very, very popular. So more to report on that. The municipal broadband feasibility study is we're going to re-engage with the people that have done that study next week, so I'll have a report to the council, and depending how that goes, we may want to have a meeting to discuss going forward or not with that. Sand Island Campground, the misinformation, there's been reports that we're logging the island and there's 72 sites under construction out there, which is not the case. So there is brushing. There's maintaining the 37 existing campsites. There's rehabilitation of like a fire ring, a picnic table, and some minor grading that goes around that to make it level.
And if you're not familiar, the Blackberries have taken over a lot of the campsites that were there.
Yes, there's that, and then removal of the dead trees that are threatening or dangerous. Yeah, that kind of thing. So I just. There's been reports, and it's been actually a fairly defensive effort last day with some of our federal folks that are kind of inquiring on that, on the reporting, so.
Oh, God.
It's time consuming, so. The lagoon feasibility project is underway. And again, some misinformation about this being a done deal and it's all done, which is certainly not the case. There's, the technical track, and can this be done safely? And it's a question. They're moving forward in that technical piece. There's a governance track that kind of overlays that to, if it does, how would we do it? And those, that work is finally initiated after a pretty long delay with the state trying to work out the funding and things. So.
Yep. It's been a very long process, just finding out.
Cobbling the funds together,
Yeah.
yes, it has been.
Yeah.
And but I think we're going to get, hopefully we get enough. If we get, we'll go as far as we can with the funding and see where we're at, and check back in the public, get along the way. And the RV park planning is coming along. I haven't seen a draft, but we're doing two renditions of that. One's assuming the existing road right-of-way where the Castor bypass, I guess, as for lack of a better term, the existing road alignment kind of behind the Farah building back to the river bounded by the road as one potential. We're also going to do, as part of this effort, a removing that or using that road as part of the design to look at what the economics of that project might be with just using Castor straight, reserving the mill. So we should be, within the next 2 weeks, have something to report back on that. And the dock regulations, the 72-hour rule, that's pretty well ready for, it should be on the next meeting or two to talk about that, as will the revisions to the business license regarding marijuana growers, the scalable, very small growers and big growers, and how the fee's the same for both. So that's it.
Okay. Councilor Locke.
So is fireworks being shot from the island or a barge?
Oh, no, they'll be on the island. Yeah, transported by barge.
So do they need help setting the fireworks up?
They need a little help the day of. I need a captain the 5th, the morning of the 5th, to get their stuff off the island. But we have the city barge, and then I think the St. Helens Marina has another boat. They're asking permission to. They're actually going to bring a trailer and a boat and have their own personal boat to go back and forth.
And this is who?
This is the Western Display Fireworks.
So I think they've met the crews that we used to use over here. So do you want me to get a hold of those crews and see who's available? The guys that used to do it? If they need help or not?
I think they've got it pretty well covered. There might be somebody on the city side to help drive the shuttles, kind of what their only request was, and security over there during, as they set up and around, keeping people out of the buffer zone, fall zone on the island.
So we actually own a lot of, I don't know what they call them, tubes that they shoot out of. So we used to set them all up ourselves, and I know we used to get a better rate because we did all that.
So the price on the fireworks contract, this will be the 4th year at the same price, and they're going to do it on the island, so they didn't upcharge us for that, and they're bringing all their stuff, so we may want to just leave
it.
I don't know.
So went to my first Columbia Learning Center meeting Friday, and of course it was all about the Black Tie and Blue Jeans Summer Social. So I'm here to ask if we, the council, want to purchase a table or 2 tables for the Black Tie and Blue Jean deal. I think it says here $600 value, but I was thinking they were like $800 a table or $750 a table, something like that. So I can find out for sure exactly what they are.
You know what? I like that, what it benefits. So
it's a good thing with the council. I mean, it's kind of the party of who's who in Columbia County. But anyway, we can talk about that later.
When is the date for that?
August 3rd, yeah. So those are one of the things, we're having a meeting next Tuesday, right? At Mall Foster about the lagoon. So I've talked about this before about developing some sort of a small brochure that just has the bullets, things that we do know about the lagoon and things that we don't know, so that at least the community has a little information out there instead of no information or bad information.
So there is some on the website under the tab. There's a FAQ kind of. There is some information. It's a little bit buried, but.
Right, but it's on the website. Yeah. Guess that's all for now.
Okay. Councilor Carlson?
I made a list, but I wasn't sure how much I was going to talk about. I've been very encouraged about the good things going on in our community, and over the weekend, some of the people touched on the reports about parking complaints and other complaints that it kind of, the city gets some pushback about whether we're business friendly or something. I see a lot of people doing great things that they don't get the credit for that. And so I'm just frustrated with, you don't have to fix the world, but everybody should have a story about how they helped a citizen. Everybody that's connected to the city, how did you help your neighbor? How did you help a customer, kind of thing. I see Jacob doing that stuff all the time. I see Margaret, I see Matt, all the folks that work here working extra to try to help people navigate a permit process or how to navigate a street closure or how to fix this thing. Everybody should have those stories. So-and-so came in, they didn't know how to do this, and I helped them connect the dots. They didn't know they could put up this sign. I helped them fix that. People should have those stories, those kind of the good news as opposed to the list of complaints, because we have a lot of community members that do a lot of good things. To that end, I don't know if everybody's seen the announcement that Running Dog won a national grant award of $10,000 this week. That was not just local, it was a national competition, and they came in first place for $10,000. And last night, the PUD awarded the chamber, joined our chamber partnership on their business center for $5,500, and they'll be presenting that check tomorrow morning to the chamber board, so I'm pretty excited. The NAMI Walk is this Sunday. Youth Council is taking, I think, 7 or 8 young adults to participate in that. The chamber is having a happy hour tomorrow evening for chamber members at Scappoose Creek Inn. Out there, it's from 5 to 7. Just drop in, check it out. And the school is having the last of their listening sessions tomorrow from 6 to 7 at the high school. So if there's anything that you wanted to get in before Scott Stockwell or the new principal, it's kind of your last chance of the school year to have them listen to your feedback. The other thing that I had was, I went and I wanted to thank, I didn't get a chance to thank them that time, but I went to an open house for the county and public health about the wraparound drop-in for young adults, serving adults from 14 to 25, helping kids that are homeless, at risk of homelessness, not getting a job, those kinds of things, kind of like a hangout place that will have mentors that will help kids, that the Alex Tardif and Claire Catt at Public Health are kind of heading it up, and there's some Gobies working with them, and they're trying to kind of get this together. They have some startup money to do this process for the community, and I was pretty excited by the energy around that and helping those at-risk young adults, creating a space of their own. So I was pretty excited. It's counselors that have been identified as mentors, that have walked the difficult walk of addiction, whatever mental health struggle, and have made it through into that career and are now here to help other young adults find their way. And I think that's definitely an underserved need in our community. And I wanted to thank Shauna, because I didn't even know this was happening, and Shauna and Ryan were there to advocate for our community as representatives from the city and representatives of young adult engagement, and they had a lot of good feedback, and they just were there and just really good ambassadors for our community, and just showing that, 7 o'clock at night, they're still showing up. No photographs, no paychecks, no stars, no big trophies, They're still showing up, getting it done with the school district, with public health, with the county. Still creating those partnerships that is going to connect this community and help people, help everybody be included. And I just wanted to put that appreciation out for Shauna and Ryan and the team that's working so hard to connect these young people that don't have enough support. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Topaz.
Concern having to do with the Plymouth Street cave-in. I've put this little piece of paper together.
Can you get your mic on?
I have this one concern about this Plymouth Street cave-in. I've gone over and looked at the hole, and what disturbed me was how close it is to the lagoon, and the fact that we have running water eroding the ground underneath the road, literally at the end of the dam. There's a surprisingly constant flow of water, and as Sue Nelson has pointed out, the bedding around that conduit wasn't very good. And it looks like the conduit with the cave-in was a 30-inch, and yet further down, closer to the fence, it looks like a 48-inch. It looks like there's some strange pipe down there. And do we know where all this water is coming from?
It's groundwater. You'll find it anywhere that you dig because we have such shallow bedrock here that groundwater is just going to follow the bedrock.
Yeah, I agree with that. But the fact that we've got that water 20 feet basically from the end of the dam says in time we could lose the end of the dam and the lagoon at the same time. Obviously, the old road looks like it was 6 foot below the present road. The old road was lower than the lagoon surface.
It was, and Boise rebuilt that many, many years
And
ago.
what kind of history do we have what's underneath there? Any?
We don't have any. Just what was when the lagoon was constructed.
So we got to keep our fingers crossed is what we're saying.
Well, where we're replacing the pipe, it's all being backfilled with.
Yeah, I'm not worried about
yeah.
I'm worried about the condition, because the pipe looks like there was even stones that have run through it and beat little holes in the bottom of it.
In the downstream portion.
Yeah, what I can see from in the steel casing right now, that's a fairly new pipe. It's galvanized inside and out.
For that existing that's exposed, that's all being replaced.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it
was a 48 inch. It was consistently 48 from one manhole to the other.
But in the upper manhole, it's a 30-inch, or is that collapsed?
The upper manhole,
which is in the steel.
None of that has collapsed up above the existing manhole.
I'm talking. We have a steel casing. It's 2 8-foot sections in height.
That's the shoring.
Yeah, the shoring. Yes. That looks like a 30-inch, and yet further down, it definitely looks like 48.
No, that's all 48. It was all 48 all the way down. From where all the shoring is, that was 48. It's all being replaced with 48, exactly what was there before.
And it's going to be lapped because it looks like the stuff that's there was just stuck end to end.
Yeah, it's hard to say what the construction of the previous pipe was, but no, this will all be tied together just like we do any other pipe.
Because I'm worried about, long term meaning 20, 30 years, that running water, is that going to present us a problem at the end of that dam?
It shouldn't.
Can we guarantee that?
Of course we can't. There's no guarantee for anything.
Yeah, as I say, and the fact that the ledge going to Knob Hill is straight down, so we've got a sheer rock and any water's coming right through there.
Yeah, we don't see a lot of water running off of that like you do in some of the other drop-offs. We don't see a lot of that.
There's 2 major basic bowls in Knob Hill, big water. So we've got a big water reserve, and if there's any groundwater coming beyond that. But I was surprised how much water was still flowing through that pipe.
With the recent rains.
Yeah.
There would definitely be water going through there.
That was my concern, that they looked like there was a permanent hazard underground.
I can understand that concern.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Council President Morton.
Yeah, I have numerous issues. to report, and the first one is an announcement, and City Administrator Mr. Walsh and our Mayor Mr. Scholl and myself named our co-Public Works Director Sue Nelson to interim Public Works Director, and this is an announcement to a public announcement and an announcement to the council that she's assuming the job responsibilities of the load of both co-directors, with the exception of the Public Works Project and Crew Supervisor, which Mr. Dave Elder was promoted to as well. So that's what's happened in Public Works. Help me fill in anything that I left out with that, John or Mayor Rick. Anything?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
Buck Tupper went into Dave's old position, and potentially there could be another guy being promoted from within, but it's a union job, so it has to be notified. Or it has to be announced.
Okay.
Yep.
From Parks Commission. Parks Commission is one to initiate a sustaining budget string. They're recommending this to the council. Initiate a sustaining budget string for parks. Those monies could be earmarked for major improvements and maintenance, and the sustainability from that would be the parks fees staying in a parks fund. So they were pretty adamant about that. Matt, can you help fill in anything that I'm leaving out from what the Parks Commission's recommendation would be to the council? Okay, so that means it's kind of a start of a sustainability of parks, and put the puzzle pieces together. We're also saying Parks and Rec. So I just wanted to report that, and I don't know if we need a head nod for that to go ahead with moving that to a fund, or what?
So I would offer some caution on a policy perspective of, your enterprise funds versus your general funds versus your special revenue funds that have monies moving back and forth, and the police, they don't directly get the money they get for tickets.
Yeah.
And in the past, there's been these kinds of requests to have, this is money that's related to this, and we need to spend it that, but procedurally, everything goes into the general fund. And library, library revenues, all those types of things, and then it just gets reallocated out through the budget process. And you can, at any time, monitor how much that was and make a budget request for that amount as far as rational, but to kind of earmark all these funds all over the place gets really slippery, and
Okay.
I'd be cautious about making that a policy.
So do you have, could we make that recommendation for staff to study and report back to the council? Just like
I think
kind
staff
of
could track the funds specifically that are come in for parks. Yeah.
Does that make sense? Okay. I don't know where to move from here, other than it was a recommendation to the council, and
You can do that through the budget process.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So is that an understanding that we can maybe move in that direction for parks specifically? Because as we know, parks has been under the gun for how are we going to fund it, all the way from sugar tax to everything else that I can think of, user fees and all kinds of things. So hopefully we kind of like put an, this is a start to hopefully putting an end to how we're going to manage that, and in a very open way, so that the Parks Commission doesn't understand it, and they don't think it's fair the way it is now. But if we monitor how much the parks is bringing in and give a report to the Parks Commission, that makes sense to me. And I think it would make sense to them as well.
Yeah, there's that mindset of wanting to move like an enterprise fund where the revenues equal the expenses, and I think with parks that would be really, you would have a lot of expenses and not much revenue because of their
Exactly. Right.
One of the problems I see with that, and this has come up with some of the discussions with Shauna in the school system, is a number of people cannot use the parks because they can't afford it. We're thinking of just pickup game teams. A regular, let's say, organized baseball could organize and have a fundraiser. And one of the questions about our students, young, middle, and old, who literally have no dollars to, they get basically run out of the parks because they can't afford it. No. And that was one of the press problems that we have, and especially if we try to combine the high school and the grade school fields along with the other ball fields and areas.
So I could take a baseball bat right now and walk over to 6th Street ball field and invite a couple friends to come over there and hit some ball. And as long as that's not being rented by T-ball, it's free.
Nobody's going to run you out.
It's free.
That's erroneous information.
Well, back to Morton's comment, it's erroneous information. It's what people believe, though.
You stated you talked to the school district and
that was their feeling.
Pursued this, but that's not the case.
Well,
So-
again, this is what I found. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. That's why I brought it up. But that's the impression that a number of people have, Rick, and that's where we have to be a little more
You can
open.
Call me anytime, Councilor Topaz, on questions like that.
Yeah.
It's anytime. Sorry to interrupt your.
No problem.
Yes, yep.
No problem. I knew it'd go there. Public Works Breakfast hosted by Sue and Sue Nelson, our Public Works Director. And who else do you have helping you?
Is Sherry helping you out?
Just
in the gang
you.
over there? Is Sherry and the guys saying helping you out over there?
Sherry is always a wonderful help.
Great.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's always there for everybody.
And that's the 24th, Friday at 8 o'clock
Friday the
in the morning.
24th. Come. I'll have food ready by 7:30.
Okay. Great.
Pancakes. Yeah.
All right. Extra bacon at 7:30.
Lots of extra bacon. I have lots of extra bacon this year.
And then League of Oregon Cities is September 26th to 28th, and I think we have to register on our own. Is that correct? Yeah, if we're going.
Where's it at?
Bend. Let's see, what else we got? Oh, and I got one other thing, and I talked to Kathy briefly about this, and I brought up, and I asked her to research if we had an ordinance or resolution regarding storage of volatile and hazardous materials within the city limits. Asked her to research that. She couldn't find anything. And I know Keith and I had talked about that, and Keith kind of steered me in a direction that there might have been something in place. But Kathy can't find that, and I'd like to see if we can research that, and this isn't really time sensitive. This doesn't need to be done by next council meeting or whatever. But ask the staff to start to research what other cities have in terms of storage of hazardous waste and whatever. Maybe involve our emergency preparedness people and those individuals, possibly our fire district. I'm really not certain, but I think we need to get a handle on it and for safety and go to the forefront. And again, to me, it isn't time sensitive. It's just something that needs to be done. And actually, kind of the sooner the better. So I don't know if I can get council approval to ask our staff to start to initiate a search on that as what other communities are doing and what their definitions and guidelines are. for storage of those materials. And in particular, I can tell you what's motivated me to do this is some of the oil tankers that are parked out on the switching yards on the weekends. And they do go that way, so it tells me that they're full. So I've looked at those. I've seen the numbers on them. If the rail people are saying they're there on the way going back empty, I don't believe that, because I have monitored those with my cell phone, and they do go that direction. So it'd be interesting to know what's in them, and if they're in storage and within our city limits, it provides a risk for us. So I just like to follow up on that and ask the staff to look into it if we can. Is that okay with the council?
Well, I would just, and I get your point, Doug, but it's probably the safest way, if it's sitting there. I think those are, and I guess state regulations we could probably look it up. They actually have been on fire next to each other, and the ones that are standing not spilt, got sprayed with foam and nothing ever happened. It was a safe storage. I guess sitting idle, unless we have one heck of an earthquake that's going to jump a rail car all over the place. Parked, I get your point.
Well, that's specifically what brings it about, but this is in general, any kind of volatile material.
My fear was seeing the rail cars do this, traveling down, and that we have a derailment. That's what my fear was originally through this whole process with the port and the LPI and the rezoning. I think the state does a fairly decent job of regulating that type of stuff.
I think interstate requires those cars to be able to be tipped over without breaching. The tipping would be bad rail bed, and again, that's regulated by the federal people. I'm more worried about a tanker that's almost empty than I am about one that's full.
That's gas in it. Yeah.
But the safety equipment's supposed to be, and pretty much has been tested, you can roll the car all the way over, nothing spills. So,
come on, in Dallas, Texas, it happened last week.
You can rupture tanks, but not by just rolling them over. There are a lot of ways to breach a tank.
Yeah.
But you can also shoot at it or have somebody put a bomb on it, which makes it unsafe totally, but typically is not a problem. So if we're always going to worry about the sky falling, then we can just close down St. Level.
It isn't the sky falling. It's hazardous material within our city limits.
Definition of hazardous material. Things that burn.
Volatile.
Okay, now there's a lot of other hazardous that you would have to close off if you use just the word hazardous.
Okay. So if we want to explore it a little bit.
We can find out
we're getting pushback already.
No, you're
so
not. No, you're not.
It's fine.
No, you're not. Actually.
I'll just leave it at that.
No, I remember when you brought the conversation up.
Yes.
And I think
Yep, and now
knowing
you're
what
following
we
through with it.
agreed to and knowing what's been decided is important.
Okay.
You know, because I remember the conversation, but I don't remember the specifics. And if there's something out there, we should know that it exists and what it says.
Yeah,
You know, to refresh our memories.
It has to be labeled though.
Last that we questioned that was what is the status of these cars in the yard, is that from the rail was that if they don't disconnect until they get to their destination. They start in North Dakota and they end at wherever they're going, and barring some emergency of some type. But whether they're going back that direction, I don't know if they're empty cars going back to make
That's
a train,
that's the
train
unit
or-
trains.
Yeah,
that
right.
isn't the trains that are providing chlorine gas to Dino Noble or any of those.
Oh, okay.
That's
So
not the
that's
6
a-
or 8 cars that are there every
Yeah,
single
exactly.
weekend.
Okay.
Any given weekend, you can drive by there on a Saturday afternoon and there's cars there. I just am so used to them sitting there. Sometimes it's logs, sometimes it's lumber, sometimes it's something else.
Yeah, and I guess my point was that everything is labeled by state law, by federal law.
Yeah.
It's labeled. You can go read, if you can read the codes, you know exactly what's inside of there. Is it hazardous or is it not hazardous? And everything, they have a code book for it. A national, I forget what it's called, but yeah, but they actually have a book that you can.
NIMS, National Incident
NIMS,
Management System.
yes. Yep.
Call 1-800-CHEMTREC, they'll be also tell you the placard number.
So if you're, I mean, for those citizens that are concerned in yourself, and you see those cars and you're thinking, well, let's see what that number is. Google it and see what is sitting there. Or maybe it's empty. But it definitely had some residue of that material in there. I mean, you can find out what's being out there. If that helps a little bit.
Sure.
And John said he will check a little bit into that. Do you have a bunch of stuff written down, or are you?
No. I would have, if John's going to check into it, that's what I was asking for the staff to kind of look at it and see what other cities have.
Yeah. I was just wondering if you were done with your report.
I'm done with my report.
Okay. That's what I was getting at.
And I was hoping for a go back on one item before your.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, just that yesterday there was a CCT meeting, economic team, and there's been a change in the bylaws. Before there was the board when they had a board and executive committee, and there was just a massive board, and then they've changed the bylaws to have the membership and then more of it's a governance tweak. One of the things that when I'm talking about it is that they're basically creating a council, the 10-member executive committee, which is the governing board, and they're asking for a city seat on that board, and whether they'd be highly interested in the city of St. Helens being on that board, and if so, what assignment you might want to make with that. If you want to be myself or a counselor, or perhaps both, or a designee and an alternate, or.
I'd like you to sit in on it, and if you need an alternate, myself or council president.
I would advise the opposite of that.
You asked for it.
The political person.
You asked for it.
Be
You
the
asked for
designee.
it.
I'm happy to go to any, or I would go to the meetings anyway. So.
Be careful what you ask for.
All right.
I'm busy.
You're elected too, so. Okay, that's.
And you're elected too, because we as a council just elected you.
All right. Maybe instead of John going, maybe Matt could start going to this.
What are we talking about?
Just got elected.
I typically go to CCD meetings, so.
So it's going to work so basically they're changing their governing policy that it's going to work like a council would, and so the director is going to be, they're going to set policy and the director is going to have to follow that. Is that the idea?
That's the idea, yep.
Interesting. And, okay.
As long as they do something.
Well,
Okay.
I mean,
Oh,
large
that's good.
groups ruling
It's
focusing
difficult.
direction is difficult. A cross-section of small, well-minded people, they might actually do something. Might be
Yep.
a more efficient governing body.
Sounds good.
Can't hurt.
Okay.
Is that it?
That was it.
Okay. So first thing is, I look out here and every meeting, I have to say, please move the mic back and forth. I want 2 mics out there and I want another mic stand and I want better mics. We need it. I get tired of having to say, can you share the mic? Another mic stand and new mics that will pick up very clearly what they're saying. And let's just get it done. That way it's done.
We will try a table one first, as that will be the cheapest option. If you get 2 mics, we have to redo the entire system because
As long as it
we're at
works.
capacity for wireless mics.
This modern age, it cannot be that expensive to find a couple mics.
The mics aren't
They're
the
trial and
issue.
error.
It is the capacity of our system in the back for wireless systems. We are at capacity right now. So we would need to install
We are at capacity right now.
for wireless mics, yes.
Well, do we have them upstairs and they're running all over this building then? That we can eliminate
No,
some?
the system that we have set up now has a certain number of wireless mics set up for this system.
Sure, I get that.
So we are at capacity with what we have.
Can we
Where are
wire
the,
a
where are
mic?
the wireless? These aren't wireless. These are wired.
That's why there's only 3 here.
These are wireless? Why aren't they wired? That's weird.
Yeah. You see a couple wires, it goes to another. Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm happy to look into it, and we will try and order probably a table mic and see how that works. We'll test it out. If I can get one here before the next council meeting, I'll try and test it
How
out.
come
with
they're wireless,
Kathy.
but there's 2 wires going off of them?
They are wireless to a point where they come over to here, and then they go back there.
Okay. And so if we'd have done something before
This-
the carpet, we could have maybe had hardwired over to the.
Well, we can rip up the carpet.
I just know it's very frustrating to have to always constantly correct people, and it's just.
I have been impatiently waiting for Comcast to sign their franchise agreement so we could get some additional funding.
I have my fingers crossed that the table will work. Okay, so last night was a Salmonberry meeting at the county. They had the neighbors. It was open for everybody, but a few neighbors did come in and complain, and rightfully so. You know, and they were kind of informed on, you know, that they were actually they were concerned about noise. People with guns, which is there's already people riding out there. There's already people shooting guns out there on our watershed. So we discussed that with them. I think they went away with some answers that they were comfortable with because of some of the stakeholders behind this: the city, the county, forestry, the watershed. So there's more to come on that, and it's moving forward. That project is moving forward. You know, I kind of look at it like this. The river is our front yard, if you're looking at St. Helens as a house, and the backyard is got a fence around it, or a fence that you can go in and you can sit on a lawn chair, but you can't play no baseball or nothing in that big, beautiful backyard right now. And tell that to a kid, and it's going to drive them nuts. So definitely works with relations with our rec program, getting people involved. So yeah, that's moving along. There'll be more meetings. If you're in question, come. The rest of the council, I encourage you to come. Okay, so then Citizens Day in the Park.
Got a question.
Yeah.
That's a city property. Is our police going to respond to that, or is
No,
the county?
never has.
Or the
Never
county-
has.
Or
It's
the county respond?
It's the county.
Okay.
Yep, all that was brought up. All that was brought up last
I
night.
just-
Yeah. It was very, actually the reporter was there. It was actually a really good meeting. So I applaud Casey Garrett for all the efforts that he's done over there, and with all the stakeholders that he's reached out to. He has really done a thorough job. So, I mean, like everybody. I mentioned the fire department, the forestry, watershed, the whole works. Citizens Day in the Park, June 22nd. 20-year collaboration with the skate park, Highway 30 cruisers, a barbecue lunch, 12:30. Still got a lot of the same vendors. If anybody would like to add anything to this, I was hoping there'd be a few more staff here, but I'm going to implore your help on this year because it is a little overwhelming and it is a city function. So, but if anybody has anything to add that they think might work well, let's do it. Not to grow it too big, but a few subtle changes just to add to it would be, if anybody sees a need, feel free, because it is a city function. Okay? But all the vendors were like right on. They're like, yep, write me down. Listening to Amy give her report, I just thought it would be nice to, as a council, to not showing favoritism, but to Melanie Payne, to maybe give her a gift card to Dockside or Plymouth Pub for dinner, just because you apparently ramrodded through all those files in a very speedy fashion. And I believe that Amy gave just a token of appreciation. Something to think about. $50? No? All right. Well, I've just thrown that out there. I don't think it's everybody's looking at me like I'm crazy, but
No, she has
when
done
I
an amazing
appreciate
job,
an employee, I show them with a gift card and a thank you. They open it.
I'm only looking at you like that because, I mean, we have a lot of employees that do.
A lot of extras. Yes.
She did do a phenomenal job, though.
Yeah.
I would definitely
Yes.
agree with you.
Yep. And I agree that maybe we should do it once a month. That we should highlight an employee and choking them. And we all do work very hard around here. I see y'all working equally hard. I just something struck me as it would be a nice gesture. So skip that, forget about it. 13 nights, looking forward to it starting, Tina. It's always a good time. Hit Machine, Bart Hafman and the boys. Looking forward to that. And the jazz band to open for them. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and adjourn because we're going to be going into executive session for a quick.
Mr. Mayor, before you adjourn, sir, we have the police car out of the front. If anybody wants to see the new police vehicle that it's waiting, you can take a look at it or not.
Let's adjourn and come back here in 10 minutes for our executive session. Okay? Adjourn.
I thought you were having live music at your Citizens Day. It says
There will be music. She was supposed to put just music. So this is just a copy.